Sorry about the delay, everyone. Had a bunch of technical difficulties. TikTok likes to screw with things like at the last minute. So I have like an alternate account that I use to record for YouTube and Twitch on a different computer. And before starting everything, I make sure that I refresh, that everything looks good. It makes me do a little puzzle every morning. And then and I did that this morning. And then when I went live and I switched back over to it, I noticed that it said I wasn't logged in now. So I had to go through a whole process of logging in with two-factor and all this bullshit. Hey, Ake. Great to see you. And we have our first guest. Request. Hi, Elliot. Are you over 18? And what is your religion?
Hi, I am over 18. I'm Catholic.
Cool. What do you want to talk about?
I was just interested why you think Christianity makes no sense.
Sure. There's a bunch of reasons. I think primarily I'm not convinced that sin is real, that I should care about like some being that doesn't seem to exist, like his thoughts on my how I act and behave or whatever. It seems like and it's very inconsistent as to figure out like what it is and how it works and all that stuff. So sin, I think, doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Is that your biggest reason, or is that just one of your reasons?
That's just one of the reasons. I like to mix it up. As everyone asks, because it's the topic, so I just mix it up, throw everything out.
Okay.
See what I can do with it.
Okay, fair enough. Do you mind if I do my best to kind of respond to that?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I think part of the issue, right, is that you're kind of starting from a presupposition that the being does not exist, right? If we want to talk about this, then it's perfectly fine to talk about whether or not God does or does not exist. But yeah, for the point, yeah. So I think it's important to grant.
But then I don't understand.
Right,
I don't understand like sine does exist in trigonometry. I don't understand why that being has these preferences that make no sense to me, and they seem to be very arbitrary and they change over time. They seem to be culturally dependent.
Yeah. So. Okay, so first and foremost, right? So I said I'm Catholic specifically. So obviously, as you know, right, there's tons of different flavors of Christianity, right? I believe, and I would say history would support, right, that the Roman Catholic Church is what we like to say is the church that Christ himself established. So the closest church that would be in line historically with what Jesus himself taught on earth. So assuming that, right?
That's the lore.
Assuming that, it makes it a little bit easier to approach this idea of different cultural expectations around sin and in this variance that we find with the idea of sin, because it's pinned down to one sense of authority. So that can be a little bit complicated.
No, that's not true. That's not true, right? So like the Catholic Church doesn't report to the Catholic Church, right? They report to God.
So what do you mean by that, I guess?
Do you think the Catholic Church overrides what the Bible says, essentially?
The Catholic Church is the arm of authority that works together with Scripture. We believe in both Scripture and authority.
But if Scripture says something that is bad, and the Catholic Church says, actually, it means this and it's good, you take the Catholic Church's word over what the Scripture actually says. Is that correct?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? Because then you have to interpret, what does Scripture actually say? Because if you and I read Scripture, if we both read the same 5 verses, right, we might come up with totally different things. And it's not fair to just say, well, I just listen to what the Holy Spirit says, and then that guides me to the truth, because 2 people might claim to have the Holy Spirit guiding them and come to different things. That's why Christ in the Bible establishes a church, right? He doesn't ever say, hey, follow me around, write this down. We need a Bible. He establishes both a church, and then man assembled the canon, which makes up Scripture. And so we have to use both of those things with one another. So we believe that the Catholic Church...
But why would I care what people... Like, here's part of the problem, right? The Old Testament says things that already don't make sense. The New Testament says things that changes what that says to something else. Then the Catholic Church comes along and changes that to something else. And every once in a while, it gets a new updated idea of what it's saying. Whereas I can just look at the text and look at the time and the culture and be like, oh, it means this. Like, it's very clearly saying a very particular thing. Sometimes it's metaphorical or whatever, but when we're talking about something like a law, it's just like the law means what it says. There's no reason to read into it or think that it means some prophetic or metaphorical thing. And this is where I get really bent out of shape, is that it's like you're just basically saying like, well, I appeal to authority and say that like that's how we win. That's a terrible way to like reason your way into something.
Okay, so I absolutely do see what you're saying here, but I think, okay, in one thing, there's nothing about the Catholic Church that is contradictory to what the Scripture teaches. And
okay,
then
then we can look at the Scripture together, and you won't have to say, well, the Church Fathers say, because we'll be able to come to our own conclusion without the Church Fathers. Is that correct?
Okay, well, yes, but also I don't understand, right, this, and just hear me out, okay, and I get what you're saying, absolutely. I don't understand this insistence on not, because the Church Fathers, they're part of the context, right? I mean, if you're talking about historical context, I think it logically follows, right, that the people that directly learned underneath Christ would be able to provide historical context to Scripture that has been translated from a Hebrew text and the Greek text, the Septuagint, into now what we have, right? We have the King James Bible that's 66 books, as opposed to the original Greek text of 73 books, right? So there are, I think it's fair to say, right, that there are considerations and nuance that have to come with interpreting any text, right? If you and I opened the Iliad or the Mahabharata, right, these ancient epics, even those, right, have nuance to their interpretation. Pride and Prejudice or whatever.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Well, how we do this?
They have nuance. So
we'll look at a Bible verse, and we can just look at it and see what we think it says. And if you think that the Church Fathers are needed to determine what it means and why it's doing this, then like we can look at what they say. We can determine if that makes sense.
Okay. Do you mind if I just interject here? Because I think
sure.
I was interested in what you had to say about sin. And I understand, right, this can kind of become an infinite regress where we kind of go back and forth on, because now we're just debating about Scripture, which is the same sort of debate I could have with a believing Protestant or something like that. But I think there's a little shred of something here that you would agree with. And then if you don't mind, I'd love to go back to sin, because I think you asked an interesting question.
We're still going to talk about sin, yeah. This is all related to the topic.
I understand that. But yeah. I will say, right, I think a lot of the Christian doctrines and ideas that you might disagree with are a result and are a fruit of this idea of what we know as, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, what we know as sola scriptura, right? Which is not an ancient idea, which was not something that was taught for the first 1,500 years of Christianity.
Just, I don't want to keep talking about the Catholic Church. I don't care about your argument from authority that much. We can talk about the Catholic Church when it's appropriate. Like, I don't care. I think we should look at what your God said. I think we should look at what your God said, and we should investigate that. Like, I don't know why everyone's so afraid to read their Bibles.
No, nobody's afraid to read their Bibles, right? But is it not the case? And I'm sorry to keep going on this, but right, is it not the case that a Pentecostal person might read the Bible and get this idea that
I'm an atheist.
Be hateful to people.
I am an atheist.
I understand that. I'm
reading the Bible from a certain perspective. You'll read it from a certain perspective. We can talk about it and figure out what makes sense. That's the point. That's the point of a discussion.
But that's not the point of the Bible.
All right. Are you unwilling to discuss anything? You're just going to do meta?
No, I'm not trying to. Sorry. Let's go. We'll go to what you want to. Sorry. That's fine.
What is the point of the Bible? Why is the Bible in existence?
Well, I would not say the Bible is in existence just to be read on its own. It's meant to guide the body of the faithful, as Christ says in the Bible, right? It's also meant to be aided by the church, the body of believers.
All Scripture is inspired by God and is useful for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, so that the person of God may be proficient, equipped for every good work. To me, this means that you should read this as God inspired. It's useful to teach people. It's useful to tell people when they're wrong. It's useful for training people to do things for God. And it's useful to do good things using it or something, right? The end part of it seems to be proficient, equipped for every good work.
I agree.
Right. So that's what it seems like the Bible's for. So when I see things that are misaligned, when it does things, teaches ways to people that people should behave and act according to God, misaligned with good things, I'm like, what's going on here? But the Bible must be actually not truly good. It must not be useful for this. That's kind of the point that I have with the Bible.
Okay, fair enough. So I agree with how you read that text and interpreted it. I agree 100%.
Okay.
But the term useful, right, necessarily implies that it is not the sole contributor to all of those things.
I have not been talking about the Catholic Church at all. I don't care about it. I'm not stuck on that like you are. I don't care. All I'm telling you is that this is what the Bible is for. You asked me what it was for, and I asked you if you knew it was for, and you just said some random thing. Then you tried to tie it back into the Catholic Church. So I read this to you to show you this is what the Bible is for. Then you said another random thing, and then you tried to tie it back to the Catholic Church. I get it. Your religion is important to you. You're in a cult. You need to drop this nonsense. We can talk about it when it is appropriate.
Okay, fine. I am not trying to talk about the Catholic Church. I think that you're drawing something from that passage that is absolutely true. There's no contention about that. I don't think it's fair.
And yet we needed to talk about what useful for teaching means, because it could mean that there's other things that are useful for teaching, and therefore we should listen to church fathers.
Why does it need to be? Because it seems to me right now, like,
because I wasn't making that argument I'm not making an argument for sola scriptura. I know that you need me to.
I know
so
you're
that
not.
You can make an out of it.
Okay.
You need to be able to rebut it already, because you have no real reason to believe this nonsense.
Okay, can we reset here a little bit? Because I do see what you're saying. I'm not trying to say stuff that's inflammatory or to piss you off.
You're not.
I'm not trying to be.
So here's my problem, right? I get mostly angry with people that are dishonest, that try to sneak in their own agenda of something instead of actually engaging with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sin. You could talk about the things that the church fathers say. I don't care. It's whatever. But we're going to talk about things that God did and God said are sinful, and we're going to talk about how that makes sense. That's the point.
Okay. No, and that's completely fair. And let's talk about sin. The only thing I'm just going to say to defend myself, and I'm not trying to make this about a church or a denomination or whatever, is that I agree with you that it can be upsetting if people are trying to sneak things in. I don't feel like I'm trying to sneak in anything in some presupposition to throw you off track. I'm not trying to red herring you, right? I'm just saying we did have a slightly different interpretation of the scripture. But
you're just poisoning the well. You're just poisoning the well. You're saying already that I'm going to be wrong, or one of us will be wrong.
No.
You're already saying that one of us will be wrong, that we're reading this differently already. You don't even know what it is, and we're already reading it differently, right? You've already decided this. You presuppose that. What does that mean?
No.
What does that mean? What does that have to do with the conversation?
Well, I think that in a conversation like this, right, I think it is important to try to really pin down what exactly we're saying, and to not just say, well, okay. I really don't want to, and you don't either, right? I don't want to go in circles about this. So let's try to move on and talk about sin, and we'll give up on it. We'll reset.
So
okay.
Would you say that when God punishes people, it's for sin?
When God punishes people, it's for sin. By punishment, do you mean specifically like hell?
Like the plagues in Egypt. Would you consider those to be sin punishment?
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to say, yeah.
Okay. So in Exodus 11:5, it reads, oops, I clicked the wrong, oh my gosh, that thing. Exodus 11:5, every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne to the firstborn of the female slave who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of the livestock. What did the female slave firstborn do to deserve to die? Who sinned that the firstborn of the female slave should die?
I mean, I don't really even know how to, I guess, answer that question, because the context of that particular thing is the plague, right? So he's just, the text there is just making a blanket statement
about what God's going to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then he does it. He kills the firstborns. Why did the firstborn of the female slave have to die? What is the point of it?
Well, it was a plague, and it was retribution for, I guess, like you would say, wickedness.
Death came through, right? It wasn't a plague. It was death came through and killed anyone that didn't have the blood on the door or something, right? Like the lore is something like that.
Yeah, and the Passover, right?
Right. So God's sending death out to kill the firstborn to punish Pharaoh for Pharaoh's hard heart that God hardened. I don't understand why the female slave is being punished for something that she has nothing to do with at all and has no power or control over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I guess, like, I guess I'm not like super familiar with all the context of this particular passage, so
What
I'm not going to give
context
you
do you think would make
half-baked.
this make sense? How does it fit into your theology of sin
Well,
and
no, I'm just saying that I'm not informed enough on this to give you some fake half-baked answer or to
so
try
you're
to
not
like
going
lie
to
to you
even
or whatever.
try or even understand that you worship a
Well-
God that did this? You need to engage.
Well,
Stop running away.
Well, I'm not okay, I think the intellectual humility would be to not answer your question if I don't feel comfortable or like I'm
I think
educated
actually the
enough to
intellectually
answer it.
honest
Would you
thing to
rather
do,
me-
the intellectually honest thing to do would be to say like, this doesn't exist or the God is evil. You would look at this and say, oh, wait, you're right. I didn't notice how evil this is that he did this. And it makes no sense. I should really stop believing nonsense and question everything about this. That's the intellectually honest thing to do.
I mean, why is it evil?
To kill the baby, or I guess the person, the child, doesn't have to be a baby, but the firstborn of the female slave under Pharaoh is not evil. You think it's totally fine? Like, that's the context I'm asking you. I'm asking you to explain why it's okay. And
No, I didn't
your
say it's
answer
totally
was,
fine.
I
I
don't
asked
know.
you-
I'm going to go and think about it or something. And it seems more like you're like, I haven't seen the apologetic for it yet. I don't know what the church fathers say. I don't know why anyone would follow a God like this. The concept of sin within the book makes no sense, and the way he behaves doesn't align with how sin is laid out.
What? Sorry?
The concept of sin doesn't make any sense. Like, it's very arbitrary. And then the way that God behaves in regards to how he punishes people doesn't even align with, like, in one instance, he'll say that he doesn't punish the children for the misdeeds of the parents or whatever. And then in another instance, he says that I'm going to punish like 3 generations or something. He's arbitrary about how he punishes in sin.
I mean, it all kind of comes back to like scriptural illiteracy, because when you have a poor epistemology and a bad foundation for interpreting a text that you're going to adhere to, and that's the thing you're appealing to, then it kind of
Tell me how
leads
to
to this
interpret it.
endless-
We're reading the words together to interpret it together. We both have different worldviews. We've admitted this. Just tell me what you think it means and why I should like it.
Well, I mean, referring to the actual concept of sin, which you're saying is incoherent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what, I guess my question would be, what about sin is incoherent? Like the concept of sin, right? Because I don't understand, like, if the claim is, right, that there is a God, if the claim is that there is a God who is omniscient, then it would make sense that the concept of sin would appeal to that omniscient force, right? That's just the claim, whether or not you like it or disagree with it or don't think it's true.
No, sin just means God's preferences. Like, I don't know what you're talking about with omniscience. Sin is just what God
Euthyphro's
prefers.
dilemma. Yeah, like Euthyphro's dilemma. Yeah.
Okay, so why are we bringing up the
And how
Euthyphro's
would you ground morality outside of a God, right? It is going to be subjective, or it is going to appeal
you're trying to pivot
God.
to like a Philbro argument about like morality?
Well,
Holy
this
cow,
is
this is
that's
sad.
exactly what you're talking about.
Just admit that your God did something wrong, and we'll move on to your Philbro argument.
It's not a Philbro argument. That's the same point you're making.
Okay, so you want to pivot into how can I know what's wrong? This could be right.
Well, no, I'm not pivoting to anything. We're talking about God, right? And you asked how does it make sense that sin would be in relation to what God believes?
What did you ask me though? You asked me about my morals and how I can justify something, I think.
I mean, you don't need to justify to me your morals right now. I'm talking specifically about God, I guess. So the confusion is whether it makes sense that the notion of sin would appeal to God when the claim is that God is God.
No, the idea, the point that I've made a couple of times, that sin is arbitrary. It makes no sense, right? And you can see that from the actions of God. So we could talk about other scriptures or whatever you want to do. Just do something besides like you're not making any points.
Okay, but we can't talk about scripture because your interpretation because you've blocked me out of interpreting
blocked you out.
scripture in the proper way.
When did I do that? I told you multiple times.
By telling
bring
me that,
anything
by
you
telling
want
me
to
that
me, and we'll
scripture
talk
needs
about
to
it.
be read in plain text.
Tell me how I should read it. You
scripture in
haven't
plain
given me a
text
different
besides people that
interpretation.
have-
You haven't told me how I should understand this. I don't know how else to read this except for through the Rademacher method.
Through the
Rademacher method. Yeah. You read the text and you look at every word in it and you try to figure out like what are the parts of the sentence and what is the context of it and what are people trying to say. You just read it and you understand it from the second grade when Mrs. Rademacher taught me how to read in the second grade. That's what I use to interpret this. So what's your method?
That would not be my method, and I would say that method is incoherent with what the Bible would actually be intended to be read.
The thing that I learned in the second grade of how to read is incoherent with how I should read your holy book. How should I interpret this? Tell me what I should do.
You should not just read the book in plain text without context when you can't read Greek and you can't read Hebrew. And I mean, there's a reason why people get PhDs in scriptural interpretation, right?
Because there's a reason why a number of those people leave the faith when they attempt to learn more about this.
That's not a good argument.
What is your argument? Does it appeal to authority?
You can make the same argument. You can make the same argument, Sarah. You can make the same argument.
Yours was an appeal to authority. You understand that, right? My argument actually makes sense.
It's not an appeal to authority. It's not an appeal to authority.
What was it? What is the point of saying like a lot of people have studied this? A lot of people know better than you.
Not that they know better than you. Not that they know better than you.
What is the point of what you said then?
There is nuance. That there is nuance to it. It'd be the same point if I said,
what is the point of that?
Come on, we have what?
No examples. What's the point of what you said? What is the point of the nuance? They know it more than I do.
The point of the nuance is that there are more factors to consider.
It's an appeal to authority. You don't have the nuance. You need to show me the nuance and don't tell me there's nuance. That's how it works.
Greek
evidence.
It was the text wrote in English.
So it is an appeal to authority. You're saying that the people that translated this,
people that spoke Aramaic.
Let me ask you
Aramaic.
this. Okay, I agree. The scholars that translated this know much more than us. So why do you believe it's not translated correctly?
I don't believe that it's not translated correctly.
So what is the argument?
I believe that I'll give it to you. Okay, I believe that it would be insufficient and inadvertently, because I don't think you're trying to be dishonest, but disingenuous to read the text in your own plain language, attempt to interpret it without the necessary context, and then say, well, no, why can't we just read it like this, straightforward, and then say, well, no, you are wrong because you're telling me you don't have enough context to interpret it. Well, there's more to go. There's more to be considered than rather just the plain text. And sometimes there's difficult passages in scripture. And I understand how you as a non-believer would see that and go, well, no, it's just cope, right? You don't know, so you're just saying blah, blah, blah. But I think it's fair for me to say there's a lot of context that goes into this. It's not an appeal to authority. Rather, there are just people out there or people who have done the work, right, to interpret this correctly. And I should defer and consider what other context might be out there that I might not have access to, because I'm not a scriptural theologian. I'm not a biblical scholar. I don't speak Greek. I don't speak Hebrew.
It's the problem that you're making. I haven't told you anything about what I do. I don't speak Greek or Hebrew, but I could. You don't know.
You could.
You don't know how much I've looked into this, how much I've heard about it, and heard the responses to it. You're assuming that we both know as much about this, and that actually that you know more somehow.
No, and all those points apply to just me, not to you. I don't mean to make them apply to you. If I said that, I was wrong. Okay. They apply to me. That's what I should do. I don't know what you do. You could be a Greek
What I'm saying is, I don't see what context changes this. You can make it up. This is the thing that I've always tell guests, because they never know how to respond to anything, and it's always context. I say, tell me whatever you want. Make it up like you're making your new story around this and make it make sense. It could be that it says, JK, it didn't happen. That's not what it says in the book, but it would make sense. It could be that God didn't actually do this. That's not what it says in the book, but it could be, and it's possible. So that's the context. You can do anything, literally at all, to make this make sense to me. And nobody ever even tries. They refuse to even engage because they know there's nothing they can do. There's no excuse for this. There's going to be some spiritual nonsense or some other thing, but it's never going to be a sufficient answer. But you're welcome to give me any context you have or want to make up. I'm willing to listen. I'm totally here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to delve into some tangential moral argument, right? but I'm not gonna.
What does that have to
I'm
do
not
with
gonna
what I
now.
asked for? We're talking about a scripture where the firstborn
Okay,
of the
well, you're
female
interrupting
slaves
me.
dies. I did interrupt you because you're going on a tangent that doesn't have anything to do with the moral argument. I don't know why you delve
I
into a
was.
moral argument. We're talking about
I
this,
said
and I
I
want to know the
didn't want to
context.
go into a moral argument.
Oh, great. I'm glad you brought it up.
What?
I'm glad you brought up the thing you don't want to do to make things clear.
Yeah, and I
just
didn't do
address
it.
what I said. Fuck.
Okay, it's okay. Like I mean, we're just having a discussion. I'm not trying to like piss you off. It's
I
really
know.
okay.
It's incredible that Christians never try, and yet it's so easy because, like, you never
Well,
want to address what people say. You never want to actually engage. Even when I directly call you on it, you refuse to do it. You keep pivoting to other topics of things you don't want to even talk about.
Nobody's
Just-
pivoting. You're not
just
even pinning
say
down a
the
logical
response.
argument.
Give me the context that makes the sin of the firstborn why the firstborn died. Give me the context.
I just told you I'm not going to make some bullshit argument that I don't have a grasp of and lie to you.
You're
That
lying
is-
to yourself then. Your God is evil. Leave it.
How do you interpret? Okay, if you're going to make the claim that God is evil, then I guess does it not follow to go into some sort of a moral argument? How
do
is
it.
God evil?
Let's do it. So
Okay, why
you
not,
don't
I
think
guess.
you don't think that this is sufficient. You don't think this is sufficient, and all the other shit your God has said to have done is sufficient to prove that he's evil. You don't understand evil well enough. I have to prove it to you. That's your argument now?
I mean,
Let's do it.
straw manning my position.
No,
doesn't
I'm
do
not straw
anything.
manning your position. You have
Yeah,
to.
you are.
have to be saying
Yeah,
that.
you
There's
are.
no other conclusion here. You disagree with me that it's evil. That's the only reason to pivot to an argument about morality, which is what
Well,
you wanted
you're
to
the one who
entire
made a
time.
claim that God is evil. Of course, I'm not going to be Christian and think God is evil.
Right, because you don't have any way to think for yourself. Read the fucking book. You don't even know what's in it. So God is evil, right? Because he said that you should burn women alive. In Leviticus 21:9, I get twisted up because I hate that people were going to defend this. That was an easy one before, but the slave thing, I tried to make it easy at the beginning. When the daughter of a priest profanes herself through prostitution, she profanes her father. She shall be burned to death. This is the all-good, all-knowing God giving laws about how people should be treated, what we should do. It's considered an abomination. What she's doing here is considered so horrible that she should be burned to death. What is the context? How is this good? Why would I follow a God like this? I think he's evil because of this.
Are you there? Sorry, you cut out.
I am here. I don't know that I did cut out. You cut out, I think. You swiped off the app or something. Did you hear what I said? Did you read the verse?
No, I didn't hear what you said.
So
I
God
can read
gave
the
this
verse. I didn't hear
law
what
that
you
says,
said.
when the daughter of a priest profanes herself through prostitution, she profanes her father, she shall be burned to death. Why is this good? Why do you think your God is good and not evil when you see it here in the page? Do you think that this is good? We can discuss the problem of evil or morality or whatever you want. If you think this is good, we can just say, actually, it's good to burn women alive, and then we'll have that discussion. But we're not pivoting to a philosophical argument about morality unless you agree that you disagree with me that this is bad.
Well, I guess why is it bad?
To burn women alive?
Yeah, why is
for
that
having
bad?
sex? You don't know?
Yeah,
You're not
why is
sure?
that bad?
You're not sure? You're admitting you think it's good? You're not sure?
Well, I'm
have
asking you
have
why
no
it's
moral
bad.
compass? I know you're asking me, and I'm asking you, do you think it's bad or good? That's the context of how this conversation is going to continue, is that you tell me whether it's bad or good, and then we discuss that, right?
I mean,
So you say, like, as a Christian, I believe that my God gave this law, and it is immoral or moral.
well, I mean, I don't know how you can say what it is.
Interesting. So as an atheist, I don't believe God exists, but I think that this law is immoral. It's wrong to burn people alive. I have a lot of reasons as to why I say that, but I'm just curious if we disagree, and I can't tell because you won't tell me your stance. You won't give me your stance.
I guess, I mean, I kind of want to humor you because I'm really interested in
You're
I'm really
human.
interested in how I guess you can make any determination ultimately.
That's what you're interested in. You're not interested in ever questioning your God, are you? Or like wondering what's true. You'll
I
never
didn't
do
say
that.
that.
You'll never wonder what's actually true. I'm going to need you to say, as a Christian, I think that this is totally fine, and then we can discuss it. But I don't need you to preface it with like, I'm just going to joke around for a second and say it. Just say it. Just say it with your whole chest. Stand on 10 toes for your God. Defend your nonsense beliefs, and we can discuss it. We can get into the thing you actually want to do that like doesn't mean anything, that doesn't actually do anything for us or society or make any practical reason to do. Just waste time, and it's like a masturbatory exercise. We can do it. But you have to first say, as a Christian, this is great. Burn women for prostitution. Sex itself, like just burn them. Ike, thank you so much for the floating heart.
Oh, I mean, doesn't the book of Leviticus itself refer to like Levitical law, which isn't binding to Christians anyways?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, that's an honest question. You might know. I don't know.
I don't
pretty
know.
sure.
I don't know what isn't binding to Christians means, because Jesus said that the law would be forever and all this stuff. But regardless of the theology,
like, applying to like the Jewish, like the old Jewish laws, like the Levitical law.
It's an excellent point. So let's just give it to you that Christians don't have to follow this law today, but it is good, right? When it was instituted, it was like moral, and so it would be still moral because God's morals never change. He's objective morality.
Well, no, the Christian claim would be that the Jewish interpretation was just incorrect.
Interesting. Okay, why would I believe that this is incorrect, what God put here?
Because if it's Levitical law, then it doesn't have to adhere to Christians. It doesn't matter what you or I believe.
Theology isn't that the law was wrong. The theology is that the law has passed away, that it was too much. And so that Jesus came to be the final sacrifice. It's not that the law was wrong.
There's a difference between the moral teachings of the Jews and the moral teachings of the Christians.
I don't know what you're talking about. These are the laws that your God gave. They're not moral teachings of the Jews. They're laws that your God gave.
The Jews also say that you shouldn't mix fabrics, right? That's not what God said. That's what the Jews say God said.
Okay, so you don't know your law. You don't know the law of God, of Moses.
Those laws, I know what they are. That doesn't mean that they bind to Christians.
No, you're confused about what that means. Stop saying nonsense. That doesn't mean anything.
It's not nonsense just because you don't like it.
Oh my God. No, it's nonsense because it doesn't bind to Christians, doesn't mean anything. The law is not tradition. That's the difference. You're making it sound as though it's tradition. It's a law your God gave, and you're, for some reason, denying that. I don't know what that gets you. I mean, I guess I know you get you out of you having to admit that your God gave immoral commands. But it's like crazy. It's a crazy hill to die on because it basically means that God isn't God.
How is it crazy if
everywhere in the Old Testament where it says that God said this, it just means he didn't say it. It just means that it's Jewish tradition and you don't have to think about any of it. Why did Jesus rely on it? Why did he teach from it?
There's a difference between the Levitical law that was prior to Christianity. Christ himself speaks against laws and contexts that the Jewish people adhered to.
No, he does not speak against the law. You know that, right? He doesn't speak against the law. He speaks against tradition.
You're just blanketing this term law.
No, we're going to read what Jesus said because you don't know it. Jesus, wash hands. Let me find this. Matthew 15, I think. I'm still building up some tabs so that I don't have to do this every time, but I have some hopefully. Hopefully this will be quicker soon. Matthew, ceremony hand washing, Mark 7, Luke 11. I think that's it. Bible Gateway. So I'll show you what I'm talking about, right? Matthew. Oh, 1 second. Mark 7, sorry. Let's see, I think this is it. Thus observing, there are Pharisees, don't wash their hands. Yeah, this is it exactly. This is exactly what I'm thinking of. So in Mark 7, pull up the Bible, it says, the tradition of the elders. And when the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around him, they noticed that some of his disciples were eating with defiled hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands, thus observing the tradition of the elders, and they do not eat anything from the market unless they wash. And there are also many other traditions that they observe, the washing of cups and pots and bronze kettles and beds. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat with defiled hands? He said to them, Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandment of God and hold to human tradition. Then he said to them, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must surely die. This is Jesus saying that we should keep the old law where we kill children for disrespecting their parents. But if you say that if anyone tells father or mother whatever support you might have had as Corban, offering to God, no longer permit doing anything for the father or mother, thus nullifying the word of God through your tradition that you have handed on, and you do many things like this. So his whole point here is you're not following the law, you're following tradition. So when you're mixing up tradition and law, you're doing a bad argument here of like mixing them up. So in Leviticus, when God gave the law to burn women alive, Jesus agrees with that law and not tradition. That would be like to not do that, I guess.
I'm pretty sure that the whole hand washing thing isn't referring to the Jewish Torah. Be wrong about that.
What are you talking about? What do you mean the whole hand washing thing? Like that section, or do you mean the hand washing like action?
Like the hand washing he's referring to in the section.
So they came and they said, do the tradition of washing your hands. He said, traditions are stupid. You should follow the law. Like that's the point of the section. He said, you're not keeping the law of Moses, which is all of this, right? It's Levitical law. It's the 10 Commandments. It's the Mosaic law. It's what Jesus followed. It's how he's supposedly sinless, is that he kept the law. That's the point of, that's like the concept of it.
Okay, fair enough.
So God gave this as a law, and I think it's wrong. I think it's evil. If you disagree and you think this was appropriate, or it would have to be always appropriate, I think. There would have to be some way in which it is always appropriate. Then we could talk about that and why we have that, that conflict. But I look at it and I say, like, it's bad. Like, you shouldn't do these things. I don't even want to make the reasoning as to why, because I think you should tell me whether or not where you stand on it.
Yeah, I guess I would say we would stand in a similar place on a lot of those things.
But you follow the God that gave the law, and I don't. So what's the disconnect there? Where I'm like, I don't follow because of this, but you're like, eh.
Regarding.
Do you worship what? Like, do you worship Yahweh and Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that because of things like this.
No, I know that. I'm talking about so are you referring to anything in particular about what you disagree with, or that specific passage you brought up earlier, or just are you saying in general, whatever it may be taught by God that you just don't agree with? Or that is evil?
If God did everything good and he did this one thing bad, I'd say this is bad. I wouldn't follow a leader that does a thing like this. It mars their character. You cannot trust them.
Okay, so you're just talking in general.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have the verse on the screen. We both think it's bad. I guess you can move on and keep worshiping God for no reason.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if you were specifically referring to the verse on the screen, or if you're just talking about in a general sense, but yeah.
I don't know what you even mean by what I'm talking about. My argument is that God is bad because he gave this law. And I think you said you agreed that it's bad. Do you think that God is bad because he gave the law?
No, I just
Okay.
don't.
Why don't you think that he's bad because he gave this law? Is the law good?
No, I just don't understand it. Like, I would concede that. Like, you're making a point that I'm not equipped to respond to, and so I would just say, fair enough. Like, I can grant you that.
So, like, but why would, in a position of like ignorance, you'd follow somebody, right? If you have this against them, what is the reasoning? Do you throw it away? Do you just ignore it? What is the reasoning here that you still say, like, I don't know the full story here. Why isn't this enough of like a lead to be like, hold on a second?
Well, I don't throw it away and I don't ignore it. What I'd probably do is, like, once you and I are done talking, I'd probably go and look at the full passage and read about it and like try to figure out, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Try to go figure it out.
Okay. Well, I hope you figure it out, because I think it's bad, and I think you should be able to like very clearly see that it's bad. And if somebody gave this law, they're bad. That's like, to me, cut and dry, real easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry I was a little hard on you, but you were kind of slippery.
No, I don't mind. I don't think you're hard on me. I appreciate the conversation. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
Yep. Take care.
Thanks. That went great. Lucas, I see you in the box. I know you've been there for a long time. I'm going to do a quick like little ad thing. Oh, Elliot, I'm going to drop you down because I think... So everyone, tap the screen and share the live. Thank you so much for showing up. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance. Like, things just kind of got going. Like, I started going and people already were requesting. So that's cool. I want to say hi to everybody in the chats. Hi. Maybe it'll die down later and I'll say hi to everyone individually. Lucas has been waiting forever. Oh, let me go ahead and close the window thing. Lucas, good to see you again. How you doing?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. How's it going, Sarah?
Good. Yeah, we talked last night, right? I remember it was really good.
We sure did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, how are you doing?
And I'm doing great. I see that your argument today is about sin, which we talked about last night, which is awesome. I think that we get to interact with that a little more as well.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
So
do you want me to restate my argument real quick?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So my argument is essentially that I think that sin is arbitrary. It's just God's preference. And when we look at the book, we can't tell what is sin. And it's very hard for us to determine like when we're doing something wrong or right. It's just too arbitrary to find out.
And why do you think that why it's difficult to understand it?
Because God's actions often contradict directly what he says is right and wrong. And because what he says is right and wrong in the laws contradicts what I think makes sense, what is right and wrong. And so it becomes very hard to know like what God's preferences are because they're contradictory. And then like what is actually good because it's contradictory to just like what I've observed to be actually good.
Yeah. I'll preface this. If we're going to get into Levitical law, a lot of them do have a lot of spiritual significance and context that I'm probably going to dive into.
Okay.
If that's fine.
Well, I guess so. But I think, did we talk about it last night? That I consider spiritual to be like a vacuous word. I don't think that it has any meaning.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So I'm arguing from the point of faith where spiritual does hold significance to me. And this just gets back to what we chatted about last night, which is the difference with the approach of faith, which essentially brings a new lens and it makes things like spiritual areas you can dive into, right?
Whereas, but how do you know? So this is another problem. Like spiritual is just like sin. It can mean anything. You could just make it up. Spiritual is just imagination. So I don't know how you determine what is really spiritual and what is not, because it's just like, well, I don't like this, and I can imagine something different, therefore it's spiritual. That's all I see it as.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair, as in like it can be a blanket term, but I think that when we're interacting with something spiritual, we can typically know that it is spiritual.
How do you know?
That we're in,
What's the test?
whether something's spiritual or not.
Yeah.
I think that it's kind of the same for most religions. It's whether you're dealing with the divine in a non-physical sense.
What does that mean?
So like prayer or we talked about it last
Those
night.
are inconsistent. Like, those aren't consistent tests. How do you test when something's spiritual?
I don't think there's a physical. It's kind of like.
So there's
it's
no
kinda
consistent test. You have no way of knowing whether you're right or wrong. It's on faith.
Yeah, and I think that you can found your faith on evidence as well.
No, because faith is the evidence of things not seen, things for hope for, right?
Yeah.
You don't found your faith on evidence. That's evidence. That's trust.
Well, faith itself is by definition not founded on evidence, but you can have evidence backing it.
No, you can't, because then it's not faith. Then it's trust.
Well,
Then you have priors.
faith-
You have there are
faith-
different words for it, but it's not faith, because faith is specifically without evidence. It's you saying, I don't have any reason to believe this, but I do. That's why it's
and I
dangerous and bad.
I think there's specific things that require that type of faith. I think that there's other aspects of the religion
Then that's
that
not
are
faith.
not necessary.
If there's evidence, then it's not faith. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
right.
saying.
You're right. There's
Then
a
your
bit of a
argument is
tangle.
basically that there are very few things that require it, but I'm saying that you need it for all of this spiritual thing. So it's actually basically the entire thing requires faith, that you can just believe whatever you imagine to be true or what somebody else in authority imagined to be true.
I think imagine is a straw man, because I think
If you
that
have no
it's-
test to determine whether something is true, you have no way of knowing whether it's imagination or true. Like true or
What
false.
what about this, Sarah? You have parents, I'm assuming, right? And I'm sure you've heard this apologetic as well. I'm not.
I'll
gonna
grant
probably
it for
tell
the
you-
argument.
Yeah. You love them, but there's not really.
Grant it for the
typically-
argument.
You don't have tests to say you love someone, right? There's a lot of aspects of you and
There's
I.
evidence. There is evidence that you can use that's consistent.
That's right. That's right.
right.
But there's no you can't put it in a test tube and say,
No,
this
yeah.
is what love is.
No,
Yeah.
you can't, because that's
And I think-
love. Well, hold on, you're making a false analogy right here, right? Your God is supposedly real, right? The spiritual stuff is real in some sense, right? Love is a
Yeah.
chemical reaction. You can test it. The concept of love and the way that you feel, you can't test. That's just a thing that we have romanticized. It is not real. That's the disanalogous thing. So you're
But-
pointing at
but
something
I
else
think-
that's not real to prove that your thing is real.
So you're saying love isn't real?
I'm saying that,
I'm not
in the
trying to straw
sense,
man
in this, I know it's kind of a complicated and kind of depressing thing. I believe that love is essentially the chemicals that you feel in your body, and the way that it happens is just through, dependent, like the things that happen around you and things that you see or whatever, your senses.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we romanticize it, we build it up, and we make it into more, and we feel these feelings, and it feels like, just like when I worshiped God, it feels like it feels like something else. It feels different, right? But it's a feeling that we're getting, and it's not real. That feeling is, it's real in the sense of we experience it, but it's not real in the sense of love exists in some material way. Do you know what I mean? It exists in the material way of what's in your brain.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you live as though, whether you on a foundational sense, you think that it's real or not? Do you live as though it's real?
I mean, I live as though people experience the feelings, so yes, but it's not real in the sense of spiritual things. Spiritual things are that you can look at a text and say that God speaks to you and told you a totally different thing, and you feel it in your heart and it means something else. That's making a decision based off of some weird spiritual idea that's just imagination or feeling. I don't think that there's any real problem with doing that with love necessarily, as long as you understand that this is a feeling. Don't let it control you. It's not like a force. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and I would share I would have a slightly different view, where I think that love, whether it's chemical reactions or not, we all operate on the plane of acting as though love is a real thing that we all share. And I think
I mean, you're
that's
presupposing, you're making an argument from popularity, essentially. I operate maybe on a
I'll
different
say
level.
in my own life, anecdotally.
Right. It
Yeah, that's
doesn't
fine.
mean anything. It's the same thing as how Christians operate on that faith is real or that God is real, all this stuff, right? You're just presupposing, well, this is real and everyone else agrees with me, so you're wrong. I don't know what this has to do with
I wasn't
spiritual
making a
things.
claim you're wrong. Yeah.
Well, that's the point of the argument, is that you should be rebutting what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I would love to. I feel like I just tried to start off by saying I'm likely going to be delving into some of the spiritual aspect, or even if we don't like the term spiritual, we can just say contextual aspects to the Levitical law. And I was just
Okay.
I'm a
Context
Christian.
I'm good with, but spirit.
I'm a Christian.
Right.
Spiritual is a word that I throw around, so I
Right,
apologize.
right. Well, it's
I'm
fine. I just wanted to be clear. Like, this is the problem, right? Everything that I bring to a Christian, they presuppose that they're right. You just have to, because you're a Christian. And I'm presupposing that I'm right, but like, I mean, you're presupposing it in like a supernatural sense. That like there's actually things that I don't understand that you do. And so you bring this to the table by saying there's a spiritual reason this is going to make sense. So that when we get to
I'll
it,
be
you
the
can just
first
say
to
there's a
say-
spiritual reason that this makes sense. That's kind of all that it does.
I'll be the first to say I understand nearly nothing spiritual. So you and I are on the same playing field on that regard. But
Okay.
I would love to dive into some of maybe what you were talking about with Elliot, or
Well, let's
something
go.
else if you want to.
Yeah, we talked first about this one. I'm not sure if you saw this one. When
Yeah, in Exodus, yep.
when the Pharaoh, was punished, and God punished the firstborn of everybody, and I don't understand
Yeah.
how this is not arbitrary. It seems like a cruel punishment that God's doing. It doesn't seem like the people that are getting punished all sinned.
Right. So in Exodus in specific, the 10 plagues are very representational. Egypt worshipped, they were polytheist as a religion, I'm sure you know.
Mhm.
And all of the plagues represent God essentially overtaking so they worshipped a frog. If you look at the plagues, you're probably wondering, what do any of these have to do with each other? Locusts, frogs, death. They seem kind of out there, and it's because they are specific attacks from Yahweh on this God that Egypt is worshiping. So it's essentially God showing his authority over all things.
Okay. So they deserved it.
Well, now we can get into this particular plague, which is the firstborn shall die, right? This
Yeah.
is, I believe, the 9th plague or the 10th plague. I don't remember
I
exactly.
think it's the 10th. I think it's the last one because it's the most cruel.
Yep. Yeah, and this is
So
where
it's
we
like
get
the crescendos.
this is where we get what's it called? The holiday, Passover. That's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
So the context behind this plague is at the beginning of Exodus. Pharaoh obviously orders an execution of all firstborn Israelites, right?
Okay.
That's where the story of Moses comes in. He's
Sure.
born
Yeah.
in a
Goes in the
basket.
reeds.
Yep. And Pharaoh started off by killing God's firstborn, and obviously I can't remember what God is at play here with the 10th one, but this was God saying, "This I'm gonna do essentially unto you what you did to my people." Now the key here, I think, that this particular verse doesn't give context to is that God also gives a way out. This is why we have Passover, right? Is
that for
wiping
everyone? Is it a way out for everyone, or is it just the Jewish people?
Yep. Egyptians as well. Yep.
Okay.
So
And so
It's
they deserved
essentially
it. And so they deserved it. So basically, God said, "I didn't like what you did to me. I'm going to do the same cruel thing, but I'm going to give people a way out, so it's a little bit better." And then, but they
well,
deserved
I
it for
think
not
that's the
for not
key.
taking the way out or knowing about it. They deserved to die.
I think that's the key, Sarah. I think the fact that God offered grace shows that He's not
God
playing
offered
on the
grace.
same level.
Why kill them?
Yeah.
Why at all? Pettiness?
Well, I think in a sense we do this is a story of how we operate even today. I think
Well,
that
hold on.
our
You said more
sin-
than you know. This is a story that men wrote. God doesn't exist. Like, you can just clearly jump to that from that statement. But like, if we're going to pretend that this happened and that, do you believe that this happened?
Mhm.
Okay, so if we're going to pretend that this or believe that this, if we're going to grant that this happened, I'm sorry, if you grant that this happened and that God exists and He did this thing, is He just petty? Why did He do this? Because He's like men? My understanding, He's good.
No.
He wouldn't be petty.
It's like I said, it's representational, and God has a way of
So
doing
He did
very
it. He did it
physical
as an
things.
example of what we should do, or what's the representation of?
Well, this is why Jesus died on the Passover. It's a foreshadowing of Jesus. Obviously, God's at play, and he's able to
So why did He do this though?
represent
Why did
things.
He kill the firstborn of the female slaves that didn't mark
Yeah,
their
and
doors?
this gets to the basis of, do you believe in God or not? Is your faith in the Egyptian gods?
So
or is it
arbitrary. So basically,
Yahweh?
basically arbitrary. Like, they deserved it because they
Well,
don't believe in Him. They don't
it's-
worship Him.
Well, it's a punishment that I think is directly or it's within God's authority and
Might
ability.
makes right. Yeah.
Huh?
There's no good reason that this should happen. It's just arbitrary, or might
Well, I
makes right.
told you it's against the gods, right? And this is actually
Killing
what it is.
killing people
I
to hurt the gods is crazy. Do you understand?
No. So the god is the god of fertility. That God's
Right.
And
It's
here
Not good
let me
that your
provide
God
this.
killed real people. That's the point I'm getting at. You think of them as like paper cutouts, I think. You think of them as like representative in the story. If you believe this
Yeah.
happened, He killed real people for things
It's-
they did
it's a
not do.
physical-
And if you believe it's
It's-
simply because they did not worship Yahweh, you follow a monster. That's terrible.
No, I think the key here is that they weren't just not following Yahweh; they were swearing their allegiance through
Show me that.
sacrifices. In Egyptian culture, so
I'm just supposed to take it on faith that the firstborn of the female slave was actively swearing allegiance to some other god, and so God was justified in killing them for that. That's the justification. God is justified because, not simply because they don't believe, but because they worship another god. So that's the justification.
Yes, they worship the god of fertility.
Do you
and
think
they're-
that is
they're
just?
making
Do you think that is a just thing to do? To kill someone for not worshiping you? It's all that it is.
Again, this is we obviously believe in the idea of hell, and so I would say that this is, if we're gonna get into God's injustice, I think dealing with the physical ways of Him dealing with people, I think hell is far worse than this.
I agree.
Right.
Okay.
And I think
W guessed.
the key,
Yeah, your God's a monster to introduce hell.
well, that's what you think, and we can get into that. I would
Let's
love
get right into that. That sounds like a fun
Awesome,
one. I haven't
perfect.
really talked about hell a
Yeah.
lot, so I don't really have a lot of verses on it, but we could just talk about it.
Sweet, yeah, we can dabble with Sheol, we can dabble with
Okay, so here's my
All of
understanding.
them.
Here's my understanding of the context, right? Is that originally the Jewish people believed in Sheol. They believed in the grave that everyone would go to, the good and the bad, and that God was more of like a being that interceded in their daily lives, that He did things for them because He kept the law. And then over time, as God stopped showing up because they just had books about it, they had to make new things up about like the bosom of Abraham, where the elders went to because they need to be special or whatever, or the whatever they are, the patriarchs. And then And then Jesus comes along and he kind of like mixes in and he says like, actually, if we take this Greek mythology about Hades and we take the bosom of Abraham, we can actually kind of like meld this into hell. And so he makes up this whole new thing where he says, actually, there's a heaven and hell. And so that's my understanding of like the evolution of it.
We can get into it. I will just say Hades is the Greek translation of the word Sheol.
Okay, but the concept of Greek mythology is much different. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and that comes later
Later, how?
in history.
When?
The Greek understanding of Hades comes, I believe, in the 2nd century, maybe the 3rd. But Jesus was in
okay. No, you're right.
Palestine.
If that's when it came about, then you're right. It would have borrowed from Jesus or something like that. But I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I'm not saying I don't think they had access to Jesus, and it, like you said, it's completely different concepts.
Or they generally would have.
So I think they just kind of came up with their own thing. But Sheol would have been a term that was known to a lot of people at the time. But I just want to clarify, as we're getting into this side of argument on hell, because if what we were talking about in Exodus, if God is just in having hell, then he's just in dealing with sin in a similar way physically.
No, that doesn't follow. I mean, I guess it would follow, yeah. But like I'm saying, you have to prove that he's just, that hell is just. Like that's a crazy. There's no point in making that claim. That's why we pivoted to it. Yeah. No, yeah. If you can say that hell is just, I guess, then I could. I don't know. It seems like I'm not sure that necessarily follows. I think that actually, it's different things.
I think that we're. Well, I'll put it this way. God dealing with the eternal hell is just in dealing with humanity in what he would refer to as a physical hell, which is living in sin. Or living in separation of God.
Well, let's just talk about hell. Like, I don't really know what this does for the argument. So,
well, I was just making sure that we didn't just bypass what we just talked about. I just want to make sure that we.
I kind of want to say, sure, that it would just be like, okay, I guess if you can convince me that hell is real, then all the stuff God does is good. But like, I don't know that follows, but I just don't really want to argue about that now. So I'd rather like just move on to the argument about hell.
I'm not trying to make a sticky argument or something like that. Like I'm just wanting to ensure that we didn't just say that argument doesn't matter and that they follow into each other in a way.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. But yeah, let's get into hell. I would love to.
Okay, so why is hell just?
Clarify, I don't have a ton of time. I'm about to go into the gym.
Okay.
But I'm certainly going to interact with this.
Yeah, why is hell just?
Well, I think the we can just get it. Yeah, I was going to ask why you think it's unjust, but that doesn't get us anywhere. So hell is a place. Biblically, it says it's created for Satan and his angels.
I did a quick look. I'm going to look into this more, but it looks like the first Greek text mentioning Hades is likely found in the Derveni Papyrus, Europe's oldest surviving book from around 340 to 320 BCE. So before Common Era. So way before 340 to 320. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that Greek and Jewish religions mingled much prior to Paul.
Right. My point was that Jesus introduced hell through Greek mythology mixing with Jewish mythology. And you said, no, and Hades came later. Right. And so I'm correcting you that it looks like you might be thinking.
That's a good fact check. Yeah. I think that my overall point with that was that Jesus was unfamiliar with Greek religion.
Why would you think that?
Because they didn't mingle much prior to Paul.
But his culture, the culture around him is Greek, is it? Isn't it like
no
most of the people? Okay, so it was all Jewish, under Roman control, but like they didn't have any outside influence from Greek texts or learning through Greek writings and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Because that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard, is that most of the way
Yeah,
that people learned to write
you're
was through Greek writings. And
you're right. The understanding of God in the Christian sense is certainly influenced by Greek, but like I was saying, this wouldn't have been around Jesus's time where these concepts were getting mingled. That would have come later.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Did you say why hell is just? Why eternal?
Yeah, I was getting
do you believe
into
that there is eternal conscious torment? Let's start with that.
Yeah, and I would ask what you meant by torment.
Okay. I guess I can just look up a definition. Let's see if I get severe physical or mental suffering. Sounds pretty good. Verb, cause to experience severe mental or physical suffering. That sounds like accurate to me. What do you think?
Yeah, that works. I
Okay.
would also add spiritual suffering in there. That's
What
fine.
does that mean?
Spiritual suffering?
Right.
So I think this goes back to Genesis 1:26, which
Do you
says
think you can
humans
suffer
are-
spiritually but not physically or mentally?
Yes, absolutely.
What does that feel like? Does that have a feeling?
I think the spirit doesn't. I think that in our bodies, spiritual suffering would take part in. It would look like mental or
Right. So there's
or
no
physical suffering
way to
because
distinguish or
that-
make a claim as to what is spiritual and what is mental or physical. Like it all could be.
Well, I think we can look at Jesus on the cross where he said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" He was dealing with spiritual suffering, as in all the sins of the world were put on him.
He quoted
but
the
it,
Old Testament. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's Psalm 20. That's Psalm 22.
When I
but
say, my
again,
God,
this
my
is a
God, why have you
prophecy.
forsaken me? Am I
Mhm.
doing a spiritual act?
No, I think why.
What's the
he said it is
distinction?
he got all the sins of the world put on him, and
I did
from
too.
what
I just did.
from what
I
I
just
know,
did.
what I
You
know,
didn't see
Sarah,
it?
I don't.
Oh, you can't see. I don't have my camera on. I just took all the sins of the world on me and I said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Is that spiritual yet?
No, because Jesus already did that, Sarah.
Wait, is there still sins? Are there still sins?
Not spiritually, if it's under the blood of Jesus.
So people don't sin any longer.
Oh no, there's still the physical sin.
Okay,
There's no
so I'm
spiritual
taking
sin.
that. I'm
Yeah.
taking all of the physical sin onto me and killing it in a spiritual sense. I'm like doing like a osmosis, like a weird like transformation, like alchemy on physical sin into spiritual sin, right? And destroying it. There's no more sin. I just killed all sin. You don't even have to worry. Jesus couldn't handle it. I handled the whole thing just now.
Did you live a perfect life prior to this?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the law?
Why would that matter? The law doesn't teach you
Well,
how to live a
because-
perfect life.
Well, we're talking about the sins are coming upon you. This sin, by definition, is going against the law. So I think.
Oh, no. I mean, like, that doesn't matter. I'm just saying I use my magical spiritual powers to destroy it. It has nothing. I have nothing to do with your fairy tale. I'm separate. I just destroyed it, though.
By biblical definition, you couldn't unless you were a pure and holy sacrifice. You know that.
Prove it.
You need a blameless
Why?
sacrifice.
Why?
According
Why
to
do I need that?
According to the Levitical law.
Okay, so you do trust the Levitical law. Do you trust the Old Testament for other things?
I trust it for most everything. But can we keep going with hell before
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I didn't want to get into another tangent.
Okay, so we are on you think it's torment and spiritual, but whatever. Why is that good? Why is that okay? Why is it just?
That's a great question. So, hell, like I said, in the Bible it says it's created for Satan and his angels, right? It's actually not created for humans, because
So
God
we don't go there. So
created-
we must not go there, right?
Well, that's not the full story. So,
Oh, so it was created for us. Because why would God create something if he doesn't know what it's going to be used for? Does he know what it would be used for?
well, he knows that people.
So it was
comes
created
down
for
to-
us. It was created. He was initially created for the devil, but it's also for us, right?
It was created for Satan and his angels, and
With no
I
intention
think
of us?
That's the
With no intention of
no
putting us
intention
there.
of us.
So God changed his
That's right.
mind on that.
Well, no. This comes back to, does God put us there or not? Right.
It doesn't
And
matter.
We're gonna get it.
Does God know everything?
He does.
Did he create hell?
He did.
Then he'll know whether or not we go there. So he's created with the intention of of us going there. He knows. Like
No, he created a place for Satan and his angels, and human free will chooses hell. Sometimes
I don't choose
not-
hell. I'm not going anywhere. When I die, I
that-
don't believe
when I-
I'm. If I have a choice to make at the end when I die, maybe I'll choose God or something. But as far as I'm
I think-
seeing right now, I'm not choosing anything.
Sarah, I think I choose hell every day, and I can get into that explanation. I think you probably do too. I think everyone does. So we can get into that.
What does it mean to choose
like-
hell? What does it mean to choose hell?
Hell is by definition eternal separation from God.
No,
right?
it isn't.
And
We
can
already
get
talked about the definition of hell. It's eternal conscious torment.
Yeah, and I think that the eternal separation from God would be eternal conscious torment. I think
Okay.
that would be torment for sure.
So when did I choose eternal separation from God?
By choosing to live away from God.
Is God everywhere?
Yeah.
Can you be separated from something that is everywhere?
Physically, no.
But spiritually?
Yes.
You got me.
Yep.
You got me with the spiritual thing again.
I know.
It's your
I'm back
it's your
to
out. It's your out. It's how you make it make
Okay.
sense. It's how you make it make
Sarah,
sense.
But you have to understand that's exactly what the Bible is dealing with. It's not dealing with physical things. It's dealing with the spiritual. It's not a Harry Potter book talking about a story about wizards. It's a story
That's
about how
irony.
to.
That's the definition of irony. What you just said is the definition of irony.
Why is that?
It is a
'Cause you think
fictional
it's the
story.
same?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
essentially
yeah,
Harry
okay.
Potter. Like I don't see the
It's-
distinction. I don't see the distinction
I
between
know.
magic and spiritual. I don't see the distinction.
I know, Sarah, but you know that the Bible, like by definition, is dealing with spiritual things.
All
it's not
nonsense religious texts are. They just say it. It doesn't mean
That's
anything.
fine, that's fine.
the
Yeah, yeah,
problem.
we can-
It's a vacuous statement. It doesn't hold any power. It doesn't mean anything to say that.
Well, I think we can get in. This is probably a conversation for another time, but we can get into why humans are innately concerned with the spiritual or with the divine. I think that's a story for a different time. But I think it goes completely with our own nature.
Well,
to
it's
be
because we
dealing
don't
with this
understand the
thing.
world well enough. Most of this is because we didn't understand the world. That's all that it is. It's not. It's
Sure,
not like.
I mean,
It's not like we're
like I
yearning for
said.
something that's there. It's because we're trying to fill in our gaps in knowledge. That's the yearn.
And
One's
that's
in
the
chat.
God
One's
of
in
the
chat if
gaps
you're yearning.
theory.
One's in chat if you're yearning.
Let's see the ones. Come on. I'll give a 1. Hold on. There we go.
Okay.
1. No, I think that's the God of the gaps theory. I think a lot of religious people do that too. But that it can be convenient on both sides arguing it. I think that if again, it would be a conversation for another time, but I think I would disagree. I think that we do innately yearn.
Right. We yearn for the minds. Anyway, I'll see you later,
For
Lucas.
the minds.
Well,
Holy
it's mostly the
smokes.
children. It's mostly the children that yearn for the minds.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, it's been
All
great
right.
talking to you. It's always a pleasure. You're welcome back.
Oh,
anytime.
I did. Are we?
Oh,
I
I
thought
thought
we
you
were
were-
gonna get into hell.
I thought you were leaving.
No, I was just gonna finish up on hell if
Oh,
we could.
let's do it, I guess. But I feel like
Okay.
I'm not convinced that we choose to go. well, it's like it's a weird thing, right? God made a thing. He knows the future. He knows that it's bad. I don't want to go into something bad, but apparently God only wants to keep me from that if I follow him. So it doesn't make any sense. And just adding on the arbitrary, like, well, he's removing himself or something eventually. He's moving on. The train's leaving the station and you're not on it. I think that's like just doesn't make any sense with the character that he's supposed to have.
So let me try and steelman what you're saying. You're saying that it seems like arbitrary. Well, one, it doesn't seem like God is fully omnipotent if he created something with a different intent than it is currently used for.
No, if
or
God knows the
currently-
future, it means that he understands what it'll be used for, which means he has to have that intent.
Sure. And I think that gets back to free will versus God's desire. And I think the Bible is littered with God desiring something, and then
Why do
we
you
say
think
no
we have
thank
free
you.
will? Why do you think we have free will? I totally don't. Even from a biblical perspective, I don't see it at all.
We can say free choice, limited free choice. I don't mind. I can concede.
Okay,
either
what does
of
it
those.
have to do though with God knows the future? He knows that we'll go to hell. He made hell, knowing that it means he made it for us, and he knows it will be bad for us. But he wants us to follow him, and that's the dividing line. It's not like a dividing line of like I suppose it's like do all these stupid arbitrary laws that are bad, but like why would I do that? Like it just falls apart so quickly. The God is not good.
I think so. We can get into. I'll just bring up this first biblical Genesis, the creation.
Okay.
God's intent obviously is for creation to maintain perfection and stay with him in the garden. But that's
well,
not
his intent.
how.
That's definitely not his intent.
What do you think his intent is?
For Adam and Eve to sin.
Ooh, that's a fun one. I've never heard that. Why do you think that's the case?
It wouldn't have happened otherwise. He knows what the future is. He put the tree there. He knows they're going to eat from it.
This is the distinction between predetermination and foreknowledge.
Right, and I see no reason to believe that there is a distinction. Like I don't understand how you can create something and have foreknowledge and not be predetermining the thing, right? And also, So if he didn't create it and he just knew, that's fine. But because he created everything and knew what would happen, he did it in a certain way, and he's all powerful, so he can do it in any way, which means that he did this in such a way that they would sin because that's what he wanted, for reasons that don't make sense, because he knows everything.
You could look at it like this. He created. It's like a producer making a live show, right? And the people on the live show could curse and get the show off air, and they could do all of these heinous things if they so choose. But the producer was the one who created the live show, if that makes sense. This is probably a pretty rough analogy.
It actually makes more sense if you think of it in that, like, it's a live show that people are reading scripts live from, right? God created all the scripts that we're going to be reading, and we just do it. We just do the thing. So we're like on a roller coaster. It feels like we're making choices. It feels like we have free will, but we're just reading scripts. And so it is a live show, but it can't go wrong because God made the scripts and he's in charge. Like we can't go off script. If we went off script, it wouldn't make sense. God would be like, I didn't write that. That can't happen.
Well, if we went off script according to us, then God would have known that we were going to go off script, but that doesn't change the fact that
it would have been in the script then. It would have been in the script then. We would have done what was in the script. He can't write something he can't not write something that's going to happen, and he can't write something that doesn't happen. Does that make sense?
Hear me. God knows the script, we don't, right?
It's correct.
I guess the
which is why it's wrong.
Free will and time are very closely. Actually, they are. There's not one without the other, if that makes sense. So, because of time, because of the confine of time, we have free will because we don't know what the future is, if that makes sense. Just because God has the foreknowledge of what the future holds does not necessarily mean we're
It does.
following a script
It
to
does.
ourselves.
It does. Did God create everything, past, present, and future?
He created everything past. I guess it would.
Like
What do you mean
everything,
by creating something in the
everything.
future?
I mean, supposedly God's done it and it's already done. Like it's already set in stone, right?
Yeah, and we have no idea how that's going to be the case.
Right. But that does not mean that we are deciding what's going to happen. God
Have
set it
you-
in stone. We don't know what it is. God knows what it is. God has the power to make it anything.
Sure. Are you familiar with the term Molinism? When I say Molinism, do you know what that is?
Let me think. I used to know.
It's the other argument from Arminianism and then Calvinism. There's a third argument. It's called Molinism.
What is Molinism? Refresh me.
I don't even know if I don't think I particularly agree with this,
Define-
but this is for the sake of argument. It's the idea that we all have the free will choice, but God in his infinite knowledge knows the infinite outcomes that will happen. And
middle knowledge.
therefore,
Okay. He knows what free creatures would do in any possible situation, allowing him to create a world where his plans unfold through genuine human choices, not coercion. But that means that he knows that they're going to eat from the tree, and that's what he desired, right?
No. He just knows that that's a possibility.
He knows what's. Yeah. Okay. I've heard it as open theism.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Molinism must be the technical
I don't
term.
even know if I fully agree with this, but for the sake of saying that there are there are arguments
I mean,
against
that does
this.
get out of it, but it's not like, I don't know. I think that the Bible seems really clear about that God knows everything and that he created us deliberately and all these things. It just seems very like saying this means he's not all knowing, and it just doesn't seem like it jives with the character. But it gets you out of it. If you want to change the God to be not all knowing, then we could say that he didn't know what they would do with the tree. He knew the possibilities.
I think that God is foreknowing, all knowing in Molinism. I think it's even a step further where he's not just all knowing what in like a minuscule sense of like, oh, I just know that they're going to make this decision. He's all knowing in the sense that regardless of what decision I do make, he has a desirable outcome for that.
I'm not sure.
Does that make sense?
No, I don't understand.
So Molinism plays around free will and says that, let's say in this, I have the whole dictionary of words I could say to you right now. I'm choosing these particular words, and God knows, he knows I could use anything in the dictionary, and he has a desirable outcome for any words I'm about to use. So, it's
I guess like
fully free will.
This,
Yeah, if
I
that
don't
makes
think this actually solves the issue at all. Because what I'm reading here is that it's
The
like
issue of
God, the issue of whether or not God did this intentionally, the fruit in the garden.
created hell.
The Adam and Eve
yeah.
story, like started the whole thing off. Because it says God knows what free creatures would do in any possible situation, allowing to create a world where his plans unfold through genuine human choices, not coercion. It posits God knows natural truths, what's possible, middle knowledge, what we would do, what free creatures would do, and free knowledge, what will actually happen. So he knows every part of it. It just is sort of like he does some of it or something. It's a little bit confusing to me because if you know what will happen and you know what people would do and you set it up, what is the difference?
I think the Bible is very clear that God operates on all playing fields of time. So he operates in the past. This is, have you heard the story of Moses like convincing God off of the ledge?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the stuff
Exodus.
is contradictory, right? Making it seem that God changes his mind when he says he doesn't change his mind. Yes, seemings are important. There's no reason to believe that it's not.
I know, and this is why I'm here talking to you. I think if we just read it blanketly, it does seem as though things are the case. But I'm here hopefully to provide a little context so that we can understand it a little bit better. And I will like to say, we probably won't understand God in this conversation. I don't understand. I won't even tell you that I begin to.
Are you willing to consider that
But-
it's because he doesn't exist and it's contradictory in nature and all this stuff doesn't make sense? Like just
I
saying
think I would go
every
against
time
everything.
with every Christian when I get to some problem, it is a cop out. It is always a cop out. There's never a satisfactory explanation.
I don't cop out. I would love to interact with everything. So I brought up Moses talking God off the ledge because Moses is appealing to God's grace. You can't have grace without with foreknowledge of the future. I'll give an example of that.
What?
Um,
No. Can you explain
I'll
that
explain.
sentence? Foreknowledge.
That was probably a poorly stated sentence. I'll just get into what I'm saying, and you'll hopefully see where I'm going with this.
I'll try to listen.
Yeah. So Moses appeals to God's grace, saying, you know, they worship the golden calf. God's angry, and he says, "Well, no, you're a loving God, right?"
Mhm.
And God says, "You're right. I'm going to have grace." Now, God obviously knows that they're going to rebel later, and you see this in Genesis where he says, "I regret even creating humanity," and that's God saying, "I know exactly where this is going, and I've seen where it's
So why did
already
he do it?
gone." Yeah, that's a great question. It's all out of love and grace, and it's the same reason
That
why he
doesn't.
got talked
No,
out
you
of
can't
the-
just use random words. Love and grace are more like spiritual. Why did he do it? What is the intent of
I can
making
just
the
use
world
the
and then
def-
flooding the world to start over? What is the intent?
It's to show that he loves us enough, and I'll use the definitions of those words if those aren't sufficient for you. But it was out of desire for us to willingly choose him.
But he knew that they
Without-
wouldn't. But he knew that they wouldn't.
He knew that we had a possibility of not doing it.
So he
I
did
think
not
there's
know
a-
what they would do, and that's why he had regret, because he's like, "Oh, I did the wrong thing somehow. They chose the wrong thing. I didn't know what they would do, and now I regret
I think
it."
with God, both things are true at the same time.
Nope, that's a contradiction. That's contradictory right there. You cannot both know and not know something. That doesn't make sense.
That's what God does, because that's what I was saying earlier.
Do you
He
see the
deals in
cop out?
past,
Do you see
present,
where we
and the
bottom
future.
out at a cop out?
Well, I think you're desiring, and this is, I think, the problem with a lot of atheistic
This is
arguments.
a pushback. They're trying to burden shift. My desire has nothing to do with it. We're talking about whether or
no,
not God
I know.
knows the future and what will happen, and whether or not he made it happen by creating, right? Like, he's not controlling maybe every little piece at every little moment or whatever, but if he like basically has a pool table and he says like, "I know exactly where every ball is going to go when I hit this because I know exactly how this is because I made the pool table," whatever it is, however it works. He hits that the cue ball, he knows everything that will happen. Why would he do it if he knows that he's going to regret? If he's like, "Oh, I didn't want for that ball to go in there, but I knew it would."
Well, I like the pool analogy. It's as if he broke it, right? You know, the term break in pool,
Sure.
like the first initial hit,
Mhm.
but then he gave the pool stick to the humans, and he
That
allowed
doesn't
them
make
to hit the ball.
sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Why's that?
Because you'd just be laying the pool stick down on the pool table. Nothing would happen.
Well, he's playing pool with the humans.
But the pool table is the human. It's all of reality.
Yeah. And the hitting the metaphorical balls in is free choice. Or at least limited free choice, because we are within the confines of reality. You're right. The pool table does represent that. I do
Yeah.
like this analogy, actually. I think
Oh, thank you.
it portrays pretty accurately what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think both are the case with God, and that might seem like a cop out to you, and this is why I brought up this this argument that atheists there's a criterion that atheists are desiring for God to fit into, and it's
Logic,
like the
logic and
criterion
reason.
of-
Logic and reason. That's the criterion.
I
Like
think
reality.
I think that if we are to take God for who he is as like the concept of him, like what Christians think he is, it's a false dichotomy from the beginning, because God, for example, we can take the Trinity, for example. There's not a single thing that you can do to explain the Trinity without committing a heresy, right? Physically.
Right.
Because there's no logical way to explain
Right. And so why would you accept something that doesn't make sense? That's the problem. Hey, Mezzo, how's it going?
I think that God has a way of being outside of time, space, and matter. The only thing that we can really comprehend is within those three confines.
It's a his ways are higher. It's a his ways are higher argument every time. Like there's nothing to it.
But no, well, I'm not saying his ways are higher, because I think he also, especially in the form of Jesus, that's a prime example. He also meets us in this criterion of logic, and he shows us that although he is outside of our bounds, he still gives us evidence of him within the physical realm.
Mezzo, do you know why we would follow something that's illogical? I'm not able to wrap my head around it, but
I mean, I wouldn't personally, but I was gonna say I also like the pool table analogy, and I get the adjustment that he made here of, well, he does the break and then hands us the pool cue. But you also have to keep in mind a few other things, because God isn't just some pool shark, right? So you have to, not only that, but he also, that was for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
He also like put the 8-ball in, right? Knowing that we might sink it. And that's fine for a game, but if the 8-ball is some sort of a like eternal, we don't get to be near him anymore, that's really jacked up that he put the 8-ball in. And also, once we line up the shot and he sees where we're aiming and our pool cue and knows the physics of like what direction the English is going to spin it, he does know what's going to happen. It's not random. It's not like he closed his eyes and it's like, what's going to happen next with these crazy random people? He knows the future.
I'm sure you could still say that we hit the pool balls in the way that we think we should hit them, even though God knows what's going to happen.
It just doesn't, this doesn't get you out of like, he doesn't know the complete future. He does.
I'm not saying he doesn't. Yeah.
Well, it means that he would have to desire it, right?
I don't mean that he just knows all of the options of the balls that could go in. He knows which ones are going to go in. That's what knowing the future means.
Yeah.
That's a thing to know, and he's all knowing. So
yeah,
he does know that if on your first try, you're going to go up and you're going to aim for the 7, but you're going to whiff it and hit the 8 in and then go to hell forever. So he does know that, and he still handed you the pool cue knowing that. He wanted that to happen. He knew that would happen.
But he also, presently, when he gave you the pool cue, look at it as if presently it's a human handing over the pool cue. He also knows that you have infinite options. Now, again, this is why I said God works in the past, present, and future simultaneously at the same time. He both knows. He also hands you the pool stick with confidence that you're going to do, that you're going to hit the 7 in. And then God also knows that what's actually going to happen. He knows it's both are true at the same time with God. And I think the Bible explains that.
That is a like complete exact contradiction. It has forced God to be illogical. He now cannot exist. By that description.
I think by within the realm of time, space, and matter, I think, you can't grasp that. I think.
Does he have 100% certainty on which ball is going to go in?
Yep.
Does he also not have 100% certainty?
He also has hope. Yeah.
That's not what I asked. Does he also like have less than 100% certainty?
I don't know if I can answer that question, because I don't know.
Well, that's because it doesn't make sense, right? Like,
it doesn't make sense.
No, I just mean that God does. the answer doesn't make sense because you want to say both and you know that can't make sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense to my mind, and that's why it's difficult for me to explain it. But it
But you
is
can do it
both.
with
That's the
anything
thing.
else. Like, do I have 100% certainty? Nope. Okay, that makes sense. That's fine. What about a psychic that has 100% accuracy, right? Do they have 100% knowledge and certainty of what ball's going to go in? Yeah, they do. Do they also not have 100%? Nope. They just have 100%. That's it. That makes sense. It makes
You
sense
do
for
see the
everything except
distinction.
God. It makes
You
sense
do
for
see the
everything except
distinction
God, and there's a reason
between
for that.
you do see the distinction between a human and God in this discussion, right?
Yes, yeah, humans are possible.
I I,
So that
I
I mean
appreciate that. It's
that's the main distinction here. Like seriously, I know that is goofy, but that's the main thing is like no matter what you do it with, you can like any type of person or other types of gods, like you could do it with Satan, you could do it with Brahman or something. You can always have it make sense. But when your God has to be all knowing and not all knowing at the same time, you can't answer that question because it doesn't make sense.
here's what I'll
The
say.
answer falls apart because
what I'll
logic
say.
falls apart.
God is the evident. Well, first of all, the definition of faith is the evidence of things unseen, right? Things that we don't know. And God presents us with himself through the biblical narrative. And the biblical narrative shows that God is both of these things, right? He's both all-knowing. And the distinction is whether you have the humility to say, I don't understand this, but I know that the evidence says that this is the case. And because God is God and I am dealing with things, time, space, and matter within those realms, I'm going to defer to the fact that God knows what's going on, and I can be fine in that unknowing. And this is why I brought up earlier the atheist argument. It's trying to put God in a box of whether it's logic or testability, and it's contradictory to how the Bible presents God anyways. So we're dealing with two different things.
But Lucas, I think like when we talk about logic, like the reason logic works is because it's this like description of reality, this description of possibility.
Let me ask you
like
that.
what
Let me ask you this.
possibly can exist. So just let me finish this sentence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Logic is this like we can use it to determine what is possible to exist and not exist. So if God falls outside of logic, that is what it means. It means that he is in the list of things that cannot exist. Just like a square circle, a married bachelor, or an omnipurple cat that's half yellow. These are impossible to exist.
Let me ask you this. Does logic, if we stepped out of the universe into nothingness, does logic still follow there? Is logic eternal?
I think so.
You think that if
because nothing would be
in
nothing.
a similar
It's not
manner,
that nothing would be something, so like it still follows.
Well, nothing is nothing. That's the thing. Nothing can't be something.
That's P equals P. That's rule 1 of logic. Nothing equals nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when you're in nothingness, you already are something in nothingness, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. Nothingness doesn't make sense, but somethingness does make sense. Yeah.
So would you say nothingness by definition is sort of illogical?
Because I think it's impossible. Personally.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could get into the whole creation.
That doesn't solve the problem of God also not being able to exist.
My whole point is when you get outside of time, space, and matter, which the presupposition of the argument is that is something that can happen, or else we're not dealing with God, we're dealing with we're not having a conversation really. if we're under that presupposition, then God, by definition, can be illogical because logic fits into those three categories. It has to.
No, logic is not in time, space, or matter.
And I just presented you nothingness is outside of those things as well, and it can't be the case.
Sorry, like two plus two equals four isn't
Math
space.
is eternal. That's fine.
Cool. It's not spatial. It's not temporal, right? It's outside of it's not some physical thing you can hold. It's not matter, but it's
Yeah.
still true.
But again, if there's nothingness, if there's a mind to say that this is nothingness, there is by definition something. There is no such thing as nothingness. It can't happen.
I don't know why you keep bringing that up. Like, I kind of agree with you. I don't think nothing
Yeah.
makes sense either. Why are you talking about it?
But I'm saying, is nothingness something that's ever happened or
No, I don't
will ever
think so,
happen?
because you have the case that, like, if there was nothing, it would be true that there is nothing, which means there would be truth. There's no way for nothingness to exist. So
Yeah.
I don't know why we're talking about it.
I'm saying that there are
What you would have to do, Lucas, is show that there's something illogical that can exist. So, like, nothingness, if you and I both agree, is illogical. That's why nothingness doesn't exist. So now show us something that's illogical that does exist, the way you think God does.
prior to the Big Bang, what was there?
A universe.
You're
something.
So you think the universe is eternal?
I do, yeah. It's convincing.
So
There was something.
this by definition is illogical, because how do we find ourselves here right now if we're dealing with something eternal, something that never started? It's impossible to be here right now by
I
definition
disagree.
of eternally.
That's just not. I don't think that follows people's time. It doesn't make sense.
Tell me how that doesn't make sense.
If there's eternity in both directions, you can still, like, move along that eternity.
But there's no moving along. Look at it this way: if I'm going between 0 to 1 second, I have to hit every single micro to the infinite degree. There's no getting to 1 second.
Right.
There's no progression in eternity. There can't be, by definition of eternity.
Look, that's true of it being either way. If the universe started, it still would be impossible to get here because there's an infinite amount of time between each second. That doesn't really, like, solve the problem. But by the way, the other
missing
thing
what
is,
I'm
like,
saying.
we are not going from 0 to 1, in my view. When you do it like that, you're starting me on a timeline. I'm saying it goes back infinitely, just like numbers do, and it goes forward infinitely, just like numbers do.
Yes.
So as we're moving along through time, we're not, like, going to ever reach something. We're never going to reach the end. We'll move through, but we're not going to reach the end.
You do see, though, how it is illogical to think that something that never began gets to a place where we are right now.
Show what makes it illogical. What's the contradiction?
Because there is no progression of time.
Yes, there is.
Do you grasp what eternity is?
Yeah, in fact, you can have eternity and progression, just like you can have eternal number line and still count. Numbers do go infinitely both directions.
Yes, but
ways, because you count from 1 to 10.
With time, it's different, because time is there is an infinite amount of time prior to this moment right now. It can't possibly happen that we would get to where we are.
So you're assuming that right now is, like, the end of some moment. So people say sometimes where it's like this, where it's like,
even
Lucas,
if we're
Lucas, dude, chill out.
towards
Let me say the whole thought.
Well, you were straw manning me, so.
Okay, well then let me finish my straw man.
Okay.
So people do this a lot of the time, where it's like, if you had to take a drink of coffee, and in between picking up the mug and getting the coffee to your mouth, you had an infinite number of tasks you had to do before you drank the coffee, you'd never drink the coffee, right? And so you're kind of doing that too. If there was, like, between, that infinity ago and now, there's infinite amount of numbers between us, so we'd never get to now. Get that?
Yes.
But the drinking of the coffee isn't the end. The infinite number of tasks in the middle is what we're doing now. There is no drinking of coffee. That's right. There will not be an end. There's no beginning of coffee.
But
It's
this
just
is
the tasks.
yes, and I think you're missing the point of eternity. It's not just that there's an infinite number of tasks in between drinking the coffee. There's an infinite number of tasks in between the infinite number of tasks. There's no end to that. You can't
Right.
you can't progress at all, because even if you
Just because there's no end, it doesn't mean you can't progress.
no,
That's not
because
true.
progression by definition is contradictory to eternity, because in order to progress, you would have had to do infinite things to progress there, and then in order to do that,
We
you
are.
would have to
We're
do
in the
infinite
process
things.
of doing those infinite things right now.
But again, there would have to be infinite things prior to that task that you just we'll call it creation.
We're
There would
still
have to
doing
be
it.
there would have to be infinite things prior to creation, and then in between each of those, there would have to be infinite things. There's
Yeah, look, I know it's weird. Like, this is a strange thing to think about. It
it's
doesn't.
illogical. Is what
By
I
the way, it doesn't get solved by God. No, it's not illogical. It's just what is happening, right? So you have to show
I
the
think
P
it's
and not
only
P for sure. But this is a weird cop out. I get that. Like, you have to kind of bite the bullet on infinite regressions. You have to do that too with God, of course. But it
yeah,
is. It
and I'm
just does
fine with
appear
that.
to be the case that that's what's happening, right?
You
Because it doesn't seem like something can just pop into existence at a specific time. Because if then that would mean before that there was time, and before that there was time. Like, there always has been time. Time
yeah
can't start.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
So it's just what we're dealing with. We both have this infinite regression. It doesn't make sense that God created time at a specific moment, and it's weird for us to think about as temporal creation, but it does appear to be the case mathematically and
That's
logically
exactly
that
what
it
my
goes back
argument for
forever.
God is. That's what I'm saying. Like we both have the same argument,
Right.
just we
I'm fine that
reach different
the idea
conclusions.
of if God is infinite, that doesn't make him impossible. That's not what I was ever talking about. The thing that makes him impossible was these other contradictions we were talking
I was trying to point out to you that you also deal with impossibilities.
We deal with infinite regression. There's no reason to think that's impossible.
It's illogical. I just demonstrated.
I know you feel like you did that, but it just doesn't actually do what you think it does, because when you
What's your
do
name,
that,
Mezzo?
you're placing us on a timeline that already exists, and you're saying you can't get from like 0 to 10, but we're not starting at 0. As soon as you put us on a timeline, you're like not agreeing to the idea of infinite regression. So
I
start us at negative infinity,
Yep.
and then have us start to go through actions. Will we
Negative infinity.
ever get to positive infinity?
No, and we
No,
will
that's
never
why we
even
just
get.
keep doing
We
actions
won't.
forever, and we're in the middle of it.
We will never get past negative infinity. This is my whole.
That's right. I agree. There is no beginning or end. Yeah,
Mezzo.
that's why I accept that.
Mezzo. I genuinely think that you should research the what infinity means,
Are you
because I
kidding me?
think
Lucas, you're talking
or
down to
no.
Mezzo on this? Mezzo's cooking you on this.
I think he just doesn't
You
understand.
can't just grandstand and say you don't understand and leave. You need to defend why it's illogical. You're just saying it.
I just said, and it seems like we're not.
What's the contradiction?
us-
Can you make a premise, like a premise-based, like logical argument for it?
Yes, here's a syllogism for you.
Yeah, syllogism.
Infinity is I don't even know what the first premise would be. Actually, I think it would. Steelman, Mezzo, you create the syllogism, and I'll.
Oh yeah. Premise 1: the concept of infinity is weird. Premise 2: it's hard for us to wrap our minds around weird things. Premise 3: the concept of infinity is hard for us to wrap our mind around. That's my premise. That's my syllogism.
I feel like that's not what we're interacting.
But there's no logical contradiction in saying that a day follows a day, follows a day, and that there's infinite days. That's the argument, I believe, right?
Yeah,
Essentially.
but then
I'll do yours for you. Yours would be like this. Infinite regression is impossible.
Yep.
That's soldier one. Things that are impossible can't exist.
sure.
Therefore, infinite regression can't exist. Now, the first one I would disagree with, and you would disagree with, because you think infinite regression with God is possible, and I think with the universe it is possible. And then the second one you would disagree with, because you do think impossible things can exist, but I
No,
don't. So you would
I-
actually disagree with both of those premises, since you reject logic. Why are we using logic if you don't accept logic?
No, the whole point of what I'm doing is showing that I believe in God, who you claimed is illogical, and I would say, by our standards, yep. But I'm also saying that you too believe
And you haven't shown
in
that.
logicality.
And you haven't shown that.
Right. So yeah, do the P and not P. You know what I mean when I say not P.
I don't know that now.
So like in classical logic, there's these three laws: P equals P, P cannot equal not P.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know why they use P, but it's like old Aristotelian stuff. So like
It's for penis, right?
to show-
Men wrote it, so it's probably for penis.
It's usually So it's about penises and stuff like that. So you have to show that like we did with God. We're showing that I don't even remember what the last God contradiction was that we showed, but the idea that he is he both knows the future
All-knowing.
and
Yep.
doesn't, right? So
Yep.
he knows everything and doesn't know everything at the same time. That's
Yep.
a P and not P. So P is knowing everything, not P is not knowing everything.
Yes.
So they can't be true because P can't equal not P. So according to logic, that's debunked. That can't be the case. It doesn't mean God completely can't exist, but that one that both knows things and doesn't know things can't. So that's impossible logically for that to exist. Can you do a similar thing for infinite time?
Yes. Infinity. We'll just say infinity. Infinite time is P, and progression through infinity is not P. That's my whole argument, is that you
not
can't.
Quite how it works. So you have to show that it's both. Like you have to show that I'm accepting both infinite time and not infinite time.
Yeah, you said that we've progressed through infinite time.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll do progression of infinite time as P. But by definition, infinite time is not. You can't progress through it.
So we're progressing time and not progressing through time.
I think definitively you can't progress through infinity.
I just don't see why not. Just like I said before, on a number line, you have infinite in both directions, and you can still count from 1 to 10. We can do that. You can move through, and like just because there's infinite in both directions doesn't mean you're frozen. You can.
I know what you're saying, but you forget that in order to count to 10, by definition of time, of infinite time, you would also have to reach 0.00 infinity zeros 1, and you can't do that. The zeros keep going.
That would also debunk time completely. Like even if time did start and went on for eternity, that like then we couldn't go from we couldn't go from right now to tomorrow. It'd be impossible for tomorrow to come, but it does, right?
No, but I stuck with decimal seconds. You can do 1 second. That's fine. The natural way that time goes is 1, 2, 3, 4, seconds. But each second, I envision like you count 1. It's like taking 1 step forward and 3 steps back, or infinite steps back, because
we go together because opposites attract. That's a great Paula Abdul lyric.
What?
Take 1 step forward, you take 2 steps back. She's dancing with the animated tiger.
I've never seen that.
You're 6.
Do you see what I'm saying? You take one step, 1 second forward. There's infinite time between there you keep progressing back, like almost backwards. It's infinity.
I'm not following. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. Like, I think you're close with we're both progressing through time and not progressing through time. Since like we've moved forward in time from yesterday to today, but there's still infinite in both directions.
You just
Like
agree. Yes, we
that's
are
a good.
not progressing through time.
No,
Yes.
I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say. You should say. I'm trying to help you. I just disagree with it because we are progressing through time. Like we experience that.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that is evidence that time started and will end.
Okay, but
How is
how
that
long ago
evidence?
did time start?
Whenever God created.
Okay, 14 billion years ago, he starts time.
14.6. Yeah.
What was there before that?
God.
Okay, so what you have is a time before time, but before is a time word.
Yeah, I know. We can't use that.
Okay,
So
so
how was God before
do you
time?
see there must be infinite time? It's kind of like it's logically inconsistent that time couldn't be eternal. It must be.
No. Right? Like, no, that's not the case.
Why? You just agreed that God cannot exist out. Can God exist outside of time in the sense that he did
Yeah.
something before time?
Before is not.
It's a time word, so it can't work. It's already doesn't work. There has to be time for God to act.
True.
Explain how he acts and outside of time.
Again, I know that our minds deal in time
It's a cop out.
We're arguing about something that is outside of time. Obviously, I'm going to say that we can't, within our bounds, we can't.
Why would you obviously say that? Why wouldn't you just use logic to determine that time cannot begin?
Because was my whole point earlier, that logic follows in the confines of time.
What? You're saying that time created logic? Or it's dependent on logic is dependent on time?
Logic is dependent. You just said it too. You said there's no before it. You said it's illogical to say there was
logic
no
is a language that describes the way that the universe works. I don't believe it exists independently of like a mind, basically. Like the way that the universe works exists independently of a mind, but not the logic that describes it. And so what I'm saying though is that it always worked this way and that time always existed. Those two things can be true.
Say what you just said one more time.
Logic always the rules that bind the universe, essentially. The way that the universe works has always existed, and so has time. They're not connected. I don't know why they'd be connected.
I'm saying that in order for logic to follow, time has to be a presupposition, or else there's no logic. You just said there's no before. You can't do that, right?
Yes.
Therefore, time has to be the case. It has to be.
And so God can't exist before time. And because there's no before time, because there's no before time, there's no God.
I'm saying we're dealing with something outside of that presupposition.
No, we're dealing with something outside of logic.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Just admit it's illogical. It makes no sense to follow. Like to even if we granted that this mystery thing is true, to come to the Christian God that burns women alive makes no sense. Just let it go.
I think that the illogical made himself logical through the person of Jesus, and so we have that.
What?
What a pivot.
Okay, look, I'll step down, but I don't think that so. To recap, it was like we showed something illogical about God. You fought it for a bit and then went, okay, I accept that it's illogical. It's just still true that illogical things can exist. And then you tried to show that time was also a thing or the way we think of time is also illogical. I don't think I quite
well, as far
understood
as
it or figured out like how you were exactly showing a logical contradiction in time. But I'd be open to hearing more about that some other time. I just have to get back to work, so I've stepped down. So
yeah, I need to
But
head out somewhere. But I think my
but
whole
hold on,
point is
if I'm wrong about time and the way I think about time is illogical, then it means that the way I think about time can't be. It doesn't mean illogical things are true. So if I'm wrong because my view is illogical, then that means you're also wrong because your view is illogical. That means we're accepting logic, right? So if you prove me wrong and I say, wow, you're right, time can't be infinite, you cooked me. Now, all you've proven is that illogical, like using logic is a good way to debunk things. We also did it with God, so God's gone now too. So if I accept your premise and I say you win, I concede, time isn't eternal. Now you can't believe in God anymore. That's why. So I'm trying my best to like let you keep believing in God here, but I don't want to give up here for you.
no, I'm saying that illogical things, by your standard, you also believe in them.
No,
And
I
that
don't.
it's not a
You
well.
haven't shown the
we just-
contradiction. You keep saying it's illogical. It doesn't mean what you think it means.
Like honestly, I think we are when we talk about infinity, I think we're talking about two different things.
All right. Well, then I
Because-
guess you're right. No, you're right. Time can't be eternal. I concede. Logic disproved me. Your beautiful logical syllogism, your P and not P of time debunked me. That means logic supersedes time. Time's not eternal. And so now do you accept logic?
You said logic supersedes time.
Yeah, it was like we used logic to debunk my eternal time theory. So now do you think logic's always true?
Well, now we would get into what you think is the secondary to that.
Can you answer that question? Can you answer the question Mezzo asked?
You don't believe in illogical things, right?
You will always find yourself to an illogical basis because we cannot understand
Because
it.
it's
You will always
nonsense.
find yourself there.
Things that aren't logical are nonsense.
You guys already find yourself in an illogical stance.
No, we haven't. We've conceded.
What is it? What's the
that
stance?
you just said time's not eternal, and that's illogical. So
what's
Wait,
the
what?
Wait,
I thought
is
time
it
was
eternal or
eternal. Was not
eternal?
eternal. That's what your argument, that it was not eternal.
Are you switching on us at the same time we switch on you?
Holy shit! What a move. That's a really good move.
What's going on?
This is just like in like cartoons when Roger Rabbit will be like, I do, I don't, I do, and then one goes, I don't, and then the other guy says, I do. It switches. Yeah. Lucas, do you think it's logical for time to be eternal?
No.
Do you think it's logical for time to not be eternal?
Sure.
Okay. So time is not eternal using logic. Great. We all agree. Now, how is God illogical?
How is God illogical?
Yeah, now we don't accept anything illogical.
Now you don't accept anything at all.
What?
What's your other...
I can't talk to him anymore. I'm so sorry.
Bye,
That's too far
Thank
for
you
me.
for coming up.
I can't.
I think what we're missing is that what we're dealing with will always find itself in something illogical. You can't hold a position
It's
on
not
it.
true.
Well, give me logical, and I'll agree with it.
What? I don't understand. Saying that we will always find ourselves in something illogical, I don't know what that means. We will always find ourselves in something illogical. I think you mean within Christianity, because it's illogical. That's the problem. Outside of Christianity, I do not have these issues.
I just demonstrated that you do.
In what sense?
The time, or the creation of time.
Yeah, it was created, whatever. God didn't do
it. By what?
I don't know.
Okay, so that's illogical. You have to
I have to know. You've proven that all you've
argument
done
of ignorance.
No.
Which is illogical. That's a fallacy.
No, it's Occam's razor to put a God there. It's Occam's razor to put a God there. I say I don't know what came before. Even if logic proved that it was created, I don't know that a God did it. I don't know.
Okay, but I'm saying it's fallacious to argue from ignorance.
That's not an argument from ignorance.
Yes, it is.
We have
It's
no
saying
evidence.
I
We
don't.
have no evidence for what came before. Why would I argue for something that I have no evidence for? That's not an argument from ignorance.
Your logic is that something came from nothing. P does not equal
Didn't
P.
say that.
That's illogical.
Didn't say that. That's a straw man.
What did you say then?
I said that time began. I don't know how.
Yep.
I don't know what did it. We've just proven
Okay,
that through
so
logic,
it's-
right? That
it's
time is
either-
not
it's-
eternal.
Yep.
Right.
That's either an argument from ignorance or it's illogical.
Let me make sure.
Both are illogical, by the way.
Argument from ignorance. I really don't know how this is that, but we'll see. Logical fallacy claiming a proposition is true because it hasn't been proven false, or false because it hasn't been proven true. Is that what I'm doing?
Mhm. Yeah, you're saying there's
No.
no creator because
I'm
it
agnostic
hasn't.
to it. I don't know what did it. I don't know what came before. Can you show me evidence of what happened?
What do you mean? What happened?
We both agreed that time is not infinite and there was a beginning. What was there?
Before the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Or
Okay.
God.
So
But
nothing can
God
exist. God existed, but nothing, and there was nothing else. Why should I believe that?
Because you have the evidence of creation. We have the evidence that time started, and therefore
We've already
something
agreed
needed
to those
start
things.
time.
Why do I believe that God did it?
Well, maybe you don't, and I would love to hear an argument for something else. But you can claim agnosticism, but you can't live life that way. That's not how we.
Really?
You have to
Are
make
you?
decisions.
Wait, hold up. No, you can. I do it every day. I'm agnostic to the idea that a deity exists.
Yeah, but you, for example, with sin, you sin or don't sin, and how you view God is that the whether you sin or not is fully dependent on that. You have to make decisions. Therefore, agnosticism doesn't work.
No, I am
decisions
an
that have to
atheist
be
towards
made.
the Christian God. That's the thing we're talking about. A generic deity,
Sure.
I'm agnostic to, but I don't know that there's any proof to it. That's why I'm agnostic to it, right? That's why I say I don't know.
But- Yeah, but this is my whole point: is that you have to make decisions, and decisions deal with absolutes.
Yes.
So you have.
This is
you-
insane. Agnosticism does not mean in all areas. Do you understand that?
Yes,
I'm not
but
agnostic
in this
to every
particular
claim.
case-
I'm agnostic to the claim
in
of a
this
deity.
particular case, yes, in this particular case, a creator deity.
That is, God is
You have to-
false. I agree. I would stand on I'm standing down on Christian God is false. That's false. I take that position. I'm agnostic to
Sure.
a creator deity.
Okay, agnostic to a creator deity is fine. You have to you live in a world that this deity either created or did not create, whether that deity exists or not.
Yep, agnostic to it.
Again, you're agnostic.
Yep, totally fine to
Again,
do.
I haven't cultivated something in my mind that would require you, but I guarantee you there's a decision made that is actually perfectly fine. Whether logic can be trusted is fully dependent on whether you think it was created by something
it's not.
logical.
That's not true. I
It
don't think
is.
that's true.
I don't. Well, on what basis can you trust your logic then?
The evidence that it works consistently.
Works how?
You don't know what works
logic-
means, or
logic-
I don't understand. We're
No,
getting
no,
into
no,
a definition
you're-
game again.
No, your argument is that logic
It's
works by
consistent.
logic.
It's consistent. It works the
Consistent
same
with
every
logic.
time. It leads
Yes,
to the
consistent
same.
with logic.
No, it's consistent. Yeah, it's consistent within itself, but like that doesn't mean that something created it. It doesn't mean that something logical created it.
But
Like you're
that's-
entailing.
You see how that's circular?
Do you see how
when you
your
say
conclusion
logic
isn't
is
connected to the
logical?
premises that there's a creator? It's not.
No, I'm saying you operate every day as if logic is the case.
Okay.
But
Lucas,
you're
this is
saying
going
the
literally
reason-
nowhere. This is going so fucking
But
literally
just-
nowhere.
Just hear me on this. You're saying that logic is logical, which is circular, And I'm saying you have to operate every day as if logic
You're
is the
trying to
case.
burden shift
So-
into an argument that my foundation for logic has to be based on God. It's a fucking awful thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. We've talked about
Well,
other fucking
point
thing,
me
and
to-
now you're burden shifting. I don't
Sarah?
believe your claim. Prove it.
Sarah, I'm saying that
Prove that logic
you-
is dependent upon God. Prove it. You can't just make a claim and not prove it. Prove it.
That's what I just said. The logic.
Then
but
stop telling me.
aside-
Then stop telling me claims about how I can't use logic and I use logic every day.
Okay,
Just
you're
make
right.
your claim and make
You're
your
right,
argument for it.
You're right. You're right. I agree. Logic, apart from God, is circular because it's logical by the basis of logic, which you can't have. Again, that's fallacious. You can't have circular reasoning.
Logic
That's
is
not how
grounded in
the-
reality. It is not grounded in itself. It's grounded in reality. I
Oh my goodness!
I
and
refute
you.
you.
You just.
I reject your premise. I reject your premise.
Mezzo
That's
said-
argument.
Mezzo said earlier that logic is not grounded in reality; it's grounded eternally, just like math. So you and Mezzo have
Reality-
some stuff to figure out.
Okay, so you're saying because reality is not eternal, logic is not eternal.
Yes.
It can't be. But
Yes.
why can't it be grounded in a non-eternal reality?
You just said it's not. You said it's grounded in reality. So that's
So does
fine.
God? Does God exist in reality?
No. And yes. He operates within reality, but he lives outside of it.
Is that a
He lives outside of reality. Things that are real. Oh, okay. You're welcome to bite that
Real
bullet.
as in physically.
You're welcome to bite that bullet.
Real as in physically
No,
real, yeah.
No, didn't. Why are you adding things to my? You said he
Well,
exists
that's-
outside of
that's
reality. I didn't say anything about
Yeah, that's-
physical reality. I said reality. Everything
What
that
I'm
exists.
agreeing with.
Everything that
agreeing
exists.
with
Is
is
God part of
physical
everything
reality.
that exists?
What do you mean by exist? That's the question that we're getting
Insane.
to.
That's crazy, right? That's crazy. I agree on the outside of reality part. That's based, actually. Oh, that's based, actually. I thought you were trying that's based on reality is what you were going to say. So, hey, Shadow Slays. It's good to see you.
Oh yeah, thanks. No, I was just like curious, like it's the therefore part. I think we're having the problem with. You're saying, or the guest is saying, like logic exists, therefore God, and it's like we're having problems with the therefore part. Just you could explain, like if you posit the word how instead of therefore, then we could get somewhere. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I like the connection between a lot of these things seemed I didn't see the connection between I guess if you're saying I think the point is like if the universe is created and the logic is grounded in itself or in the universe, then you would say it's grounded in God because God created it. It's like a contingency argument. But if I'm saying that there's reality and logic is grounded in reality, which means everything that exists, which means also in God, it means it just is a thing that exists, that happens. The way that reality is consistent. Then God didn't create it. It just exists. It's just a way that things are. But like you can say that God created time and try to pretend that there's a logical fallacy and saying it's eternal. Fine, whatever. God's outside of time. Is God outside of reality? Like that's how is logic not grounded in reality? Everything that I see conforms to the laws of logic. Doesn't seem to be the other way around. I don't know how it would be the other way around. Hey,
Shalom,
Matic, how are you
shalom.
doing?
How we
Are you
doing?
over 18 and what's your religion?
Of course I am. My religion is of all this. I'm not so Arab. Tell me, of which religion are you?
I can't understand what you just said. Can you repeat that?
Let me go again. I'm very, very sorry about this. Basically, essentially, I am all. Tell me, of whom are you?
I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I'm done with that. Yeah, you can leave. Bye-bye.
I don't think they grounded morality on that one.
Bye-bye. Please stop requesting up. Okay.
So yeah, like if you're just saying God is reality, that just proves reality. You have to show me how it's not. You're making it synonymous.
Requesting multiple
Am I?
times is just going to get you blocked. I don't know why someone would do that. If you just don't want to see the live, just leave. Just leave. Like requesting multiple times is just going to lead to blocking. I appreciate everyone coming by. This has been the best live I've had yet, like the biggest at least. I don't know if it's the best. I'll leave that up to you all. I've got a YouTube channel as well. I got Twitch, which I do stream to at the same time as YouTube and TikTok. Although nobody really watches debates on Twitch, I don't know how to use Twitch. But I've got all that going on. You can tap and share. J Train would like to come up. We've got another guest. And with that, we'll go to our very next guest. Hey, J Train, how you doing? Are you over 18 and what's your religion?
Good. Yeah, I am over 18. I'm a Christian.
Awesome. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was just curious about your prompt. You said Christianity makes no sense. Just wondering if you could mention to me what about Christianity doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so today I've been talking about sin and how I think sin seems like an arbitrary thing that it's really hard to know what is a sin and it's hard to know why I should care.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? By the way, I do have my headphones in. I don't normally use headphones.
You're a little
but can y'all hear me okay?
echoey or something, but it's okay.
Okay. So you said it seems arbitrary what sin is, and why should you care about sin?
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense. I don't think sin, the concept of sin, like it's basically God's preference, and I just think it's arbitrary, and I see no reason why I should think that God's preferences are better than my own.
Okay. So sin, I don't know where you got the idea or this definition that sin is whatever is not God's preference. Where did you get that definition of sin from?
Reading the Bible.
Just curious.
Like it's not written in the Bible that way, but that's how it is used. The technical definition is
Can you tell
missing
me-
the mark, right?
There is a few different specific definitions in the Bible about what sin is, but can you show me this verse that led you to?
Just told you that it wasn't a verse. I'm just saying that the way that God behaves towards people leads me to believe that it's based on his preference. That sin is just nothing but God's preference. It's what he prefers. It's how the laws are written. It's how he behaves. It's just preference. The book says that it's missing the mark, or the book says that it's like not doing what God wants or whatever. It's following the law. It's a bunch of that stuff, right? But it's all God's preference. So I don't know why this is difficult for you. I've laid it out multiple times, and you seem to be stuck on it because, like, I think you don't want to engage.
Oh, absolutely. If I didn't want to engage, I wouldn't have came up. So
It's funny because
okay,
people
man.
say that. People say that, and I don't know why they come up at all. Because I told you exactly what I mean, and now you want me to continue to show you things out of the Bible to prove it. I told you what I mean. Engage with it.
Right. Yeah. So I was just trying to understand why you believe what you believe. If you don't want to engage, if you don't want to, expound upon what you're asserting, so that I can have clarification. I don't want to straw man your argument.
Right.
My goal and purpose is to understand why you believe what you believe.
Let me tell you why I know that you're
told me that-
lying. Let me tell you why I know that you're lying, right? It's because I told you
Okay.
when I gave you my definition of sin that it's not in the Bible like as a verse. I told you that. And then you said, can you show me the verse? I know that you're not listening and engaging. You're running some sort of script.
No, that's not what I said, and I have no script. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, I understand you acknowledge that there's no verse that verbatim says that sin is God's preference. So then what I asked was a clarifying question. I said, can you share with me the verses that you've read that you basically drew this conclusion from? I'm not asking you for the verse verbatim. I was just wondering if you could point out the verses
I see what you're
that
saying.
you read
My mistake. I
that you
misunderstood
interpreted
you. I
as meaning
misunderstood you.
God's preference.
I
No
hear you.
worries.
I misunderstood.
All
That
right,
was my
then.
fault. I do hear what you're saying now. Let me find a verse for you that I think shows that this is God's preference, and that it's
Yeah, it's
not
okay. You don't
actually.
have to. You gave a good enough a breakdown, a clarification. All right. You said
So
based
this
on
is-
how you see God act and what he does.
Right. So when God gives a law like this, when the daughter of a priest profanes herself through prostitution, she profanes her father. She shall be burned to death. Why should I believe that this is actually good and not just God's preference?
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. I appreciate it. All right. So, in regards to sin and why you should care about it, and it's not it. Obviously, God prefers that we don't sin.
I
But
don't know
as
that
a
that's
Christian, I
obvious.
wouldn't.
But I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
I
I
shouldn't
wouldn't
interrupt, but go on.
define. Yeah, I wouldn't define sin as just God's preference. Okay? I ascribe to. Have you ever heard of the divine nature theory?
Can you break it down real quick? Not sure if I know it.
Sure. Essentially, is it's not that the moral framework for a Christian comes from what God does or what God says, but it's from His very character and nature. So whatever ultimately
How do you determine what
is
someone's
going to
character and
be.
nature is?
Hold on. Can I just
No, you
finish
cannot
explaining
just.
about?
No, because you said a thing that I want to respond to. How do you determine that? If you're
How do
saying
I
that you're
determine
using
what?
God's nature, you need to explain how you determine God's nature.
Sure, wonderful. So how we know God's nature is because we have a personal relationship with Him. We also know it through the Word of God. It
Mhm.
describes what His nature is, and through a person. The same way how you would know the nature of your mother or your father or whoever that you're close to,
Well, it
it
wouldn't.
comes from spending time.
Yeah,
Comes from spending time with that person.
and their actions.
Okay? Right.
Right.
Absolutely. That's
So when
part of
God
it.
took the
So
action of
that's
giving a
part of
law
it.
that says to burn women alive, it reflects upon His nature and character. I think it's bad. I don't understand why you're making this argument about nature. It has nothing to do with what I said. It doesn't actually get you out of this problem. God's character is bad. His nature is bad. He gave this law. What's your response?
Okay. So I mean, you're entitled to your
Guess,
opinion.
do you see the preference in the verse? Can you point out the preference here?
Do you understand that when you read, well, you guys are not going to understand this, but when you read the Bible, some things are prescriptive, some are descriptive.
Does this not
So,
prescribe burning women alive?
yeah, for this particular verse, it's saying
Why did you
that the
say that?
penalty,
What is the non sequitur you're bringing up here?
it's not a non sequitur. So for this particular verse that you're bringing up, do you know who wrote the verse? Who was it written to? What sort of hermeneutics have you done to rightfully interpret what
What
this
have you
verse is
done?
actually saying?
You've done those things, right?
Yeah.
Why do I need to do those
Yeah.
things?
Well, if you want to understand the Bible, if you want to understand, do you think? Let me ask you a
Do you
question.
think you're here to tell me how to research, or are you here to argue for the fucking word of
No.
God?
I'm here to. I'm trying to provide some context to the conversation. Is it important when we read something that it?
J-Train, I'm going to need you to shut up for a second until I tell you can unmute. You're not here to provide context. All you're doing is saying words. You need to tell me what this means. Why is it good? Why is it a thing we should prefer? You can unmute now and just tell me that. You can give me the context. You can give me the reasons. I don't care. I'll listen to you. You can talk about it, but you don't need to just say how to do it. You need to say what it is.
Can you ask, what's the question you want me to answer for you? Because it's obvious you're not really interested in the conversation. But what's the question that you asked?
That's amazing. I'm not interested in a conversation with you. That was so fucking awful. But it's how it always goes with people like that. I've seen Alex. I think I've talked to Alex before. Clean slate. Hey, Alex, I know you're over 18 and I know you're a Christian. What do you want to talk about?
I mean, I can talk to you about the verse you just mentioned.
Awesome.
About right, but hey, I was gonna say this to you, man. So you seem like a nice guy, but it
I'm
seems
not a
like
man
you
and I'm
try
not a
so-
guy. Alex, I'm going to need you to not use man or guy or gender, things like that. I'm a woman, so please just use those things.
Hey, okay, so you're a nice person.
Okay.
But it seems like you try so hard to kind of like be miserable somehow in some way. But that's not what I'm trying to say.
The meta is really
that's just a
enticing.
statement.
Alex, why do you seem so miserable? You seem actually to try so hard to be miserable. What do you think of that?
Actually, I'm extremely at peace.
Not
and
what I
happy.
see. Alex, I've seen you multiple times. Never what I see, what it seems like.
No, the only reason you're interpreting that is because I don't give you the answer you expect.
Oh, the only
from
reason you're
Bible.
interpreting your thing is because I don't give you the answer you expect. Alex, don't come up here and try to poison the well. What do you have to say for your God? Burned women alive, is it good?
Right. So, look, when we look into the
As a Christian, I
context
believe
of the
burning women
verse,
alive is sometimes okay. Are you able to say that sentence?
well, has any woman been burned alive?
Christians do not believe this. They don't believe it. I can say, no problem. God's a monster, didn't write this, doesn't exist. Burning women alive is wrong. I got no problem. It doesn't, it's like not a default thing. You know, as an atheist, burning women alive is wrong. As a Christian, burning women alive is? Who knows? Who knows? The objective morals are beyond our reach. It's pathetic. This religion is pathetic. And it makes people like that can't tell the difference between right and wrong. They cannot have a discussion about it. I was gonna give him grace on the first misgender because a lot of people do it occasionally, but he was going into it just like every sentence was gonna have it, and so, you know, and if they're not unwilling to budge on that, it just means the conversation's gonna suck. They're not willing to actually respect anything. It makes them empty vessels, i.e., sociopaths. I agree. One of my favorite quotes from Voltaire is that you can make people believe absurdities, you can get them to do atrocities. Unfortunately, when I kicked the Philbros, I don't know what's worse, making everyone sit through it and losing a bunch of viewers, or kicking the Philbro and having nobody to talk to and losing a bunch of viewers. If Christianity doesn't make no sense, what makes sense? Reality makes sense. I don't understand what you mean by that. Things that are real make sense. Yeah, these are the people with the superior morals. It is a joke. Yeah, they're not ever ready. Reality I would say reality is things that you can verify, things that to the best of our abilities we can see to be consistently verified. You have a Philbro game tonight. Everyone follow Girls Gone Godless. Oh, it's top secret. So everyone follow Girls Gone Godless for a reason that is unbeknownst. If My Little Ponies aren't real ponies, then ain't nothing in my life ever gonna work out. It's hard to make me actually dislike someone, but Alex has perfected it. Yeah, I've seen him. It's funny because I saw him talking to Justin like last night. I think somebody said he was up again this morning, maybe, or sometime. And yeah, he was just gets cooked over and over and over. And he's like one of those people I think that stands like very, he's like, there's a certain point where you stop being the indecisive, I can't tell what's right and wrong, and you just lean into it. You just lean into it. Edwin, I'll tell you what's real. Getting blocked. Anyone wants to play in the secret game? Join Girls Gone Godless's Discord. Thank you, Smith. Smith D. Thank you for the follow. Thank you everyone for showing up and following and viewing, watching, liking, and living, and subscribing. It's the Shark Show with Share a Shark. Sorry, the Shark Show with Therath. Shark Show shares. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It's in the way of chat. Boom. Sorry. Oh, Andrea, I meant to say thank you so much for the galaxy. That happened a long time ago, and I wanted to say thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Today I have to go do some errands. I have to go to the grocery store. Thank you for all the gifts, the Go Populars and the Heart Me's. If there are any Christians that want to have a serious conversation about your God, about Christianity, we can talk about how it makes sense. I have a ton of rejection, not rejection, a ton of reasons. What's the word I'm looking for? Objections to Christianity, from the morals that it espouses, the platitudes it imposes, the control that it puts over people. It's a mind prison. If it is true, can a religion given room to murderer be a sensible one? Not sure what that means, but it's a really deep question, I think. Schley, how's your day going? Slay, Shadow, whatever.
Good.
Cool.
So, sorry, I'm just stepping out, so it's a little quieter. Yeah, no, it's like my day off, right? So, I get to be here,
Nice.
and everything. Yeah. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, as it has been said before. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have floating morality because it's not grounded, so it's gotta be like a floaty, like a levitating type of morality, I guess. I don't know.
My morality is
Gotta
like
be
in the shape of a balloon, and I hold on to it with a string.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Or it could be submerged, like a swimming morality, maybe. I don't know. A spelunking morality. I love that word, by the way. Spelunking.
Spelunky.
Underrated word. Yeah.
I keep my morals and my orals. Wait. That almost worked.
Nice. What? Yeah. I'm not objective. Yeah.
I don't object to objective
Yeah.
morality. I would just like to see it demonstrated.
Right.
But I think that the idea of grounding it in like logic, or grounding morals in something like some kind of a system, right? I think that makes sense. I think morals by themselves aren't a thing. You need a goal.
Well, that's interesting. Like, I think morality is subjective, right? But I'm kind of exploring if it could be objective based off of like harm in the material world. So I'm the way I describe it is, objectively, if I punch someone in the face, that's going to cause harm, right? Like, it might break my knuckle, the bone, my pain receptors will be set off, the capillaries in their cheek might burst, there might be a bruise, right? So there's objective harm going on, and then the subjective part of it is the societal rules that we impose on it, right? So if you expand on the context, right? Like, if a customer says hurry up with my coffee and I punch them, that's bad. But there's instances where two people agree to wear gloves in a ring, and people cheer for them to punch each other, which is in their eyes good. So it's sort of like I'm kind of exploring objective morality,
but
in
this
the
is difficult,
material
right? This is
world.
difficult, right? Because now you have to say, like, well, is there more harm here than good, right? That's kind of the balance being done. So when we look at people that are boxing, we think of it as like, well, it's a sport and they're agreeing to do it and all these things, so it must not be that bad. But is it? It could be like, it's the same reasons that we think that it's harmful before, except for the autonomy, except for the infringement of somebody's will, essentially. And so the only difference there is that, And that's where I think we can say like, well, that's objectively, it seems to be wrong. And so it comes down to like the freedom and autonomy sort of freedom and well-being sort of argument, right?
Yeah. I'm still exploring it. I'm still learning
Yeah.
about it and trying to like flesh it out. So I'm still learning about objective morality, but in a real materialistic and physical sense, not because of God. So
Yeah, not like
I'm still learning. I'm still
platonically or
exploring,
any kind of like thing like that.
yeah. So
I think the
it's
platonic
interesting, but
virtues
yeah.
are pretty interesting. The idea of like appealing
Platonic
to
virtues?
yeah, the idea that there's like this perfect everything that's virtuous has like a perfect platonic thing somewhere that is that perfect virtue. I think that's the idea. And that's interesting. I have no idea why you would think that, but it's just so interesting.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm just out here, but learning and still exploring and still navigating life. But yeah, I'm also what else? Gosh, I'm in the middle of like 3 books and just I don't know, just doing a whole bunch of stuff. But anyways, listen, thanks for Trish. Thank you for the hearts, by the way. Thanks for having me. Maybe I'll drop, maybe make some room for some opposition for you or whatever. But thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day, Shadow. Yeah, I think I'm probably soon unless we get another Christian. I know often I say I'm going to quit and then TikTok will send people, I think. I feel like that's what it does. So TikTok, I'm leaving. I'm going to stop streaming. So if you want people to stay watching TikTok, then you should make Christians. It's kind of like praying, isn't it? But TikTok is real. So that's the difference. But we don't know if it will respond. It has like the same efficacy. It's not working. I appreciate everyone that came by, all the new follows and shares and subscriptions and stuff. I am going to be making, I need to make a new video for YouTube. I have, I want to make like video essays. TikTok's ways are higher. And, so you'll get that. If you subscribe, you'll get video essays and you'll know when I'm live. The YouTube chatters are really great too. TikTok chatters are really great. The only ones we don't like are Twitch, but there's only one of them. we do love Ali, our Twitch chatter. But okay. Thank you all for coming by. And we need like a raid. I'm gonna see who's on. Let me see who I can send this to. Who is currently streaming? TBV. Trust but verify. Or do they do a YouTube as well? Oh, is Ian on? Yeah, Ian would be a big How do I find an Ian? Oh, God is dead, but stream is live. There it is. That'll work. Great. Thanks. Thank you to my mods, of course, and thank you for all the gifts and stuff. Allegedly, yes. So going on over to allegedly Ian, and we'll see him cook some Christians for a bit. Thanks, Instant Egg Rolls. Sorry, McJack.